Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Irish Breakdown Podcast, brought to you by FanDuel. We are coming at you live. The game is still currently going on, but it's in the waning moments. Notre Dame is looking to advance to its first win of the 2025 season, beating the Purdue Boilermakers in an in-state rivalry game, 56-30. Fellas, it feels like it's been forever since we've gotten to sit down and talk after a Notre Dame win, so it feels good to sit down and break down some of the good, some of the bad, and when we talk about the good, it's being fueled by a 26-point victory, and that always just makes you feel better. And we did see a lot of good things today. And it's, obviously there are some things that we would have liked to see pan out differently, but at the end of the day, Notre Dame took care of business. They got the win.
Got a win.
Too upset about a
Don't need to throw any prefaces on that. Don't need any qualifiers on that. They got a dominant blowout win. They'll be. When we get to the defensive section, plus, trust me, we'll have plenty to talk about. But it was nice to see them get on the board. And, man, this offense is pretty good. And, man, I'm going to force myself to be in a good mood tonight, Trev, because Notre Dame got a dub.
They did. First win since their win against Penn State in the Orange Bowl last season. So, feels good. The final score just hit. Notre Dame officially has beaten Purdue 56-30. Gentlemen, it feels good to be back here, like I said, after a win. And today, you guys know how we're going to break it down. We're going to talk big picture. We're going to talk about offense. We're going to talk about defense. And then, of course, we'll wrap everything up talking about what's next and super chats and moving on. So, look, at the end of the day, like I said, fellas, Notre Dame got the win today. Brian, I know you were there. Crazy day, weather delay. You headed back home. We got all set up. But, Brian, how you feeling after Notre Dame's first win of the season?
Look, there's still a lot for this team is going to have to clean up, and we'll talk about that on both and really all three phases of the game showed things today that there's things to clean up. But this team also showed that anybody wants to say that anything that's plaguing Notre Dame is a talent issue is just out of their mind or making excuses. This is a really talented football team. And for all the issues that this team had, one thing that I have not really felt is like last year, there was a couple times we just felt like that team didn't play with like any fire. Even the first two games where they weren't playing as physical as they need to and they weren't hitting like they need to. I never felt like this team was going through the motions. I never felt like this team was just kind of just rolling the ball out there. They came out today. They didn't always play very well in certain phases of the game, but they played hard. They made plays in every phase of the game. And, there were multiple times where there was some adversity in this game, whether it be their own self-inflicted adversity, whether it be, weather causing a delay coming back, look how it could go a lot of different ways when you come back from that weather situation. But if you guys think about it, it was 28-13 when the weather delay hit. Notre Dame outscored Purdue 28-17 coming out of that, and 7 of those 17 for Purdue happened at the end of the game in garbage time after Notre Dame missed a field goal and turned it over on downs twice in Purdue territory with their backup offense. It was a pretty dominant finish. All 56 of Notre Dame's points came in the first 3 quarters, guys. I mean, look, how were they going to respond to the 0-2 start? That was a question that we all had. How are they going to respond? Is it going to be pouting? Is it going to be feeling for them, feeling bad for themselves? Everybody's, pointing fingers. There was a lot of different things that this thing could have gone in a different way. And what we saw was, despite there still being some things to fix, despite there being some things that we got to work through, this team came out and played hard. And at least on one side of the ball, did a lot of things that we were hoping that they were going to do, that we were concerned they may not do, and came out and really took the fight to Purdue in several different ways. So I'm happy. I'm happy about this win. It's always nice to say, hey, we got stuff to clean up after you get a W. And that's what Notre Dame got. And look, Purdue is now 2-2. They lost to an undefeated ranked USC team last week by 16 points. Notre Dame beat them by 26. So, you handed them a dominant win. No, Purdue's not as bad as last year. No, they're not a great football team, but for the most part, Notre Dame did to Purdue what a really good team is supposed to do to a team that's not really good. And they dominated. And I like how this team rallied coming out of the break. And, just the weirdest thing, like 3-minute halftime, just like the weirdest thing, man. But I'm kind of glad they did it that way. It reminded me a lot of, you remember, Sean, 2 years ago, I think we were doing a post-game show together after NC State, and you had that long weather delay, and I ended up driving home during this weather delay because, like, I'm not sitting in the press box for 2 hours like I have the last 3 times this has happened. Stanford last year, and then obviously NC State a couple years ago, and and I remember coming out of that first play, Audric goes for 70. And this time, defense comes out, makes a stop on Purdue, holds them to a field goal. Jadarian goes down and kicks takes it down to the house. Now, the defense gave up a touchdown, like I said, but at no point in time did I feel like this team had lost their edge, had lost their, focus. They were making the same mistakes on defense that they did in the before the break, but they came out and they played hard, guys. And that's something that makes me happy. And it's also something that says, hey, look, lot to clean up, but man, this team came out and handled business and did what they needed to do and got a convincing win and got on the board. Now the hope is that they can keep this thing rolling, but there's a lot of things we're going to critique in this show and certainly be a lot of things to critique and upon further review. But I'm also, there's a lot of things to be like, dude, that's really good. That's good. That's good. This guy's good. Hey, maybe that guy should have been playing more earlier, all those type of things. So overall, I'm happy. 56-30 win. I think before we move on to you guys, we have a little bit of special guest that we want to come on and just kind of say something here real quick before he goes back to laying down. Vince dedario, how are you, man?
I've been better, not going to lie, but 56-30 win kind of eases the pain a little bit. That was a fun one to watch. And if you like points being scored, I guess that was a good thing to watch. But as we said, take the over because I'm guessing 86. It was definitely over 86. So always follow that advice for sure. But I just wanted to jump on real quick and just say I want to thank everybody for the prayers and the love and all of that stuff. It's been a very interesting 24 hours. I can safely say that. So recovering great. Family's being awesome and they're taking care of me and all of you guys have been awesome. So I appreciate it very, very much. And we'll get back at it here, hopefully sooner than later.
So Vince, just real quick, buddy, not everybody, I didn't put this out publicly last night. I only put it on the message board.
Oh,
so
sure.
Not everybody knows kind of what's going on. So I know some of the stuff that's going on, you're going to hold to a later date, but I know that at least part of you want to let people know what's going on.
Yeah. So yesterday I was having, actually Thursday is when it kind of started, a little tummy ache, that kind of a thing, as my kids say, but just kept getting worse and worse. And finally I decided, you know what? I'm going to drive myself to the hospital and figure this thing out. So drove myself to the hospital along with my 15-year-old daughter, who I said, hey, you might have to drive. We'll have to see how this works out. So she was sufficiently terrified at that point. But got to the hospital, checked into the ER. 4 hours later, they took me back and decided that it was appendicitis and had pretty much immediate surgery. And they cut 3 holes in my stomach and took out my appendix. And I was home by 12:30 in the morning and have kind of been trying to relax ever since, But it's been an interesting 24 hours. I will say that. So, but a lot of love coming from the Ivy family, which meant a lot to me. Brian obviously put something on the board last night, and I woke up this morning, got on the board, and it was like almost, I think, 10 pages of just people showing their love, and meant a lot. It meant a lot.
Well, we're glad to have you back, man. Glad you're going well. I know you'll have some more stuff and here going up here real soon. So so Vince is going to get back to resting.
Yes, but I'll be listening.
He's got to go lay down and relax. And
this position does not feel good, but laying down feels a lot better. I can tell you that. But I needed to get up and around. Great. Yeah, it's my guy right there. Who cares if I haven't shaved or showered in way too long? But whatever.
Raymond Hart just giving you a hard time, bro. It's all love.
Luckily, it's not smell-o-vision, so you have no idea what I smell like right now. So that's a good thing, probably. But
smell like victory.
That's right. Like. Victory, baby. Victory. Come on. So, but anyway, just wanted to hop on real quick. Go Irish. That was a great game to watch. for the most part. But hey, a much needed W, so we'll take it. But yeah, it'll be good. It'll be good.
Appreciate you, Vince.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. Have a great show.
So, Sean, you want to take it from here, my friend?
Oh, absolutely. I think a lot of things happened today on both sides of the ball that I feel like needed to happen, right? Notre Dame needed a win. Certain players needed some positive things to happen for them. I think we saw that. I think offensively, I really liked what Mike Denbrock did. And I'm just trying to guess what his thought process was. I think Mike Denbrock said, I'm going to put it in the players' hands. I'm going to give them something that's going to say, you guys go do it. We're going to line up in 12 personnel. We should overwhelm this team. And we're going to run it down their throats. And then we're going to take shots down the field. It's a simple game plan. That's what we're going to do. We're going to come out first offensive play action, take a shot down the field, bam, get on top, and we're not going to let our foot up off their necks. And that's something, Trev, we talked about, I believe, on Friday's show. Like, it's the job. Every game plan isn't the same. There are certain game plans that players actually get excited about when they see it. They say, oh, man, we're going with that the first play? All right, bet. And I begged, please give these young men something that's going to get them excited and cause them to want to play hard. Offensively, I think I saw that. I think this team always loves to line up, run the ball straight ahead, and just dominate. I'm sure, looking at the film, we'll critique how well the offensive line played, knowing that they went up against a defensive line that really couldn't bring much resistance. They didn't really sack the quarterback, and it was misleading that they had 9 sacks because 6.5 sacks came from the linebackers and only 2.5 came from the defensive line. We talked about that. We talked about how soft they were against the run on the perimeter and not setting the edge. That was evident early and often with the way Notre Dame attacked that. And so CJ Carr continues to be efficient. Jadarian Price, are you kidding me? 6 touchdowns and 30 touches on the season, 4 touchdowns and 10 touches today. That's absolutely insane. Jeremiah Love showing why he is Jeremiah Love. And then, Ty Washington, Eli Raridon, they did a really good job blocking. Jordan Faison was really good today. Malachi Fields, after the first play, I think he had that hook on 3rd down from CJ, which was a big catch. But after that, they really didn't have to go back to him. They could save that and put it to the side for, Arkansas next week. All in all, just balance, man. Just balance. It was almost like, the moment they got hit with stomach punches in the run game, then all of a sudden Notre Dame would hit them up to the head, and then they would feint to the head and come with a body punch. It was like they could never they were always on their heels with what Mike Denbrock was doing. And it was really a simple, they were just better. I love game plans like that. When offensively as a coach, dude, we're better. We're just flat out better. We're more talented. Go do it. Go do your jobs and overwhelm them. And that's what they were able to do offensively. So that's what I loved. There were some things, with the backups. It's the last couple of drives where they got stopped on 4th downs and things that we could talk about. But other than that, the starters, man. But Trev, I said this. There was no question Notre Dame was going to score 40-plus points today. I had no doubt. My concern was about what the margin of victory was going to be and what the defense was going to look like. I had no doubt that the offense was going to come out and do what they did today. So offensively, it's not a shock to me. And really, it doesn't. I was about to say something, but then I'm going to be incorrect. I was about to say it doesn't move me because it does move me, right? Because I don't care who you're playing. You want to see a certain standard. And you want to see certain things. When your quarterback plays that efficiently, when you hit big plays down the field, and when you block good enough to run for the yards that they ran for, I could sit up here and, well, it was Purdue. Hey, man, they weren't doing it. at least they're doing it. And hopefully next week they can improve and get even better in certain aspects of the game. So that's where I'm at offensively. I expected this. I expect this offense to continue to get better.
Sure.
So Trev, big picture, still kind of what were your thoughts about the win?
Yeah, I mean, big picture, I think Sean and you kind of spoke really well to how I feel about the game. I'm honestly not surprised either way. I predicted Notre Dame to win. I said on Thursday, Brian, when you and I went through keys to victory, that I was like, look, from top to bottom, Notre Dame has significantly better talent than what Purdue does. They're more well coached. They play with more of an identity. They fought. Yeah, at no point did I think Purdue ever quit in this game.
No.
And that's one of the reasons why I walk away from this. It's like, okay, this was a good win for Notre Dame. We said it all week long that this is a game where you have to right the ship. And in some ways they did, in others you have to get back to work. But this was their third game of the season. It wasn't their 10th game of the season. So you got to just, on one side of the ball, glass half full, it was another week where they continued to improve. And on the other side of the ball, you have 9 more regular season games and continue figuring this thing out. But at the end of the day, winning feels good. I mean, this upcoming week, I'm going to write the same articles, and Brian and I are going to be doing and talking similar topics on shows because we have like our in-season content plan. It just feels better when you can do that coming off of a win.
Mm-hmm.
I can wake up tomorrow morning and not have to avoid my phone and have to stay off social media because I'm getting 95. I tweeted this out when Notre Dame lost to Miami. I get more texts when Notre Dame loses than my birthday and Christmas combined.
Yeah.
It's not even close. So I can wake up and I can enjoy Sunday. I can write out articles about key takeaways knowing that I'm doing it fueled by a 26-point win. And that feels good. And that doesn't mean that the team is without fault. Doesn't mean that there's some things that they don't have to improve on. But overall, big picture for me, guys, is I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised the offense looked the way that this did. Yeah, I fully expected this offense to run circles around this Purdue defense. I did. And I would also be lying if I said that I was shocked at what happened on defense today. That doesn't make it less disappointing, but I'm not surprised. But either way, whichever way you look at it, Notre Dame won by 26 points. We're going to have plenty of time throughout this show to dive into offense, specifically what went well, what didn't, because at the end of the day, everything that the offense did also wasn't perfect. There's some things that we talked about throughout the week that I personally didn't see that I was kind of hoping that I would. They also still put up 49 points of offense. So I'm also not that upset about it.
And let's be real, the way the offense was going in the first half, if Jadarian doesn't take that kick back to the house, they probably go down and score an offensive touchdown there.
Yes.
Like literally Purdue never stopped the Notre Dame offense.
No.
But you like that complete aspect of it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's one of those guys where it feels good. Like I said, Notre Dame hasn't won in what feels like forever. And because of the start of the season,
3 straight losses.
It's made it feel even longer. And then just on top of that, to delay what I believed what was the inevitable, there was an hour and 54-minute delay. And
that's on you, Trev.
It is on me.
That's on you. That's on you. The weather in the opener's on you. You said before the season, I don't think Notre Dame played a single game in the rain last year. Soon as you said that, you knew stuff like this was going to happen. This is entirely on Trevor, but I'll give you credit. You owned it when I was driving home through a pouring down storm. You did own it. You did take responsibility for the fact that you jinxed this season from a weather standpoint.
I did, man.
I did. 3 or 4 snow games in November now, too, because of you. Thank you very much.
I know. I jinxed it. It's on me. The next time Lauren and I are up in Elkhart, we can all get dinner, and you guys can sit down and talk about the laundry list of things that I'm going to be taking ownership for.
Yeah, but including that dinner bill, by the way. That's your penance.
Hey, these are for the rain games.
Yeah. I'd say a couple things I liked about the game, guys, is to win a football game, I'm going to try to stay away from like the big picture of what it means for the season and just look at this football game, Notre Dame versus Purdue. You want to win a football game. You want to win a football game convincingly. You've got to win situational football. And I think Notre Dame did that today. Notre Dame won the turnover battle 2-1. Notre Dame they had their cleanest game of the season from a penalty standpoint. They had 3 for 30. They had 5 in the first 2 games. And one of their 3 penalties, actually, I think 2 of their 3 penalties came late in the game with the second team, so to speak, in the game. They got 1 on offense and then 1 on defense late in the game. So very clean game from that standpoint. You talk about, sort of winning the interval type of thing, and it didn't go great in the first 4, but then the second 4, it went, pretty good. You talk about situational football. Notre Dame went 6 of 10 on third down in this game, and 2 of those failed third downs. Again, at least 2 were with the second team offense on the field. So there are a lot of things from this game that I look at and say, okay, that's how you win football games. You want to not let it, make sure a team like Purdue doesn't get in the game, doesn't, kind of come out and make this maybe a closer game than you should have. Don't have bad turnovers early in the game. And they didn't have their first turnover until it was 28-10. Then you had one that wasn't good, or 28-13. That wasn't good. But then you didn't turn it over again. You did force 2 Purdue turnovers, which set up a touchdown. I mean, the first turnover that they had was in a very important moment where the game was still in doubt. You hadn't really stopped Purdue yet. They'd stopped themselves on the first drive, but you hadn't really stopped them yet. And you make that big play. And it was a great play. I mean, first drive of Madden Faramo's career, he goes, makes him play. And then what does the offense do? Right? Like, this is situational football, sudden change. You're up, I think it was 14-7 at the time, guys, or was it 21-10 when they got that? I forget which drive it was. I forget what the score was when they made that drive, but let's see here. So 14-10. It was the Price touchdown. No, 975. Okay, it was 21-10. And Purdue's getting the ball. They had scored in their last 2 possessions. They go down and make it a 21-17 ball game. You force a turnover. The offense gets a short field. They capitalize with a touchdown, not a field goal. And that it was kind of ball game at that point in time. I think that situation where your defense steps up and makes a play, they've been struggling. They step up and make a play. And then your offense has to reward them for that play. So I just thought there was a lot of things in this game, fellas, situationally, where Notre Dame did exactly what they needed to do in several different aspects of this game. They get the late field goal to make it 28-16. Your special team steps up and makes a big play and returns it back for a touchdown. So those aspects of the game, I like just looking at it for this game and say, hey, did you do what you needed to do against this opponent? And they did. They did what they needed to do and got the win. So I think the situational aspects of the game, too, were very important to come out there and thrive. And I think the second half made the statistics look a little bit more broad. It was a lot closer game. Purdue actually outgained Notre Dame in the first half, partly because Notre Dame had a possession taken away by a kick return, and then also a possession where they had a short field to work with. So, that factored in. But still, you got outgained, but Notre Dame made the plays they needed to make. All 3 phases to go into halftime with a double-digit lead, and then buried Purdue in the second half. That's what you're supposed to do against a team that's not very good. And they handled their business. So that was a good step in the right direction. And hopefully this game kind of takes some of the pressure off of this team, guys. I hope that they kind of say, okay, we got one on the board. Take a deep breath and then go out there and get ready for a big one next weekend, because I was not happy when Arkansas lost to Memphis, because you're now going to go on the road and play an Arkansas team with their backs against the wall a little bit. But you now have that pressure of you got to get that win. You got to get that win. You got to get that win. That's now off your shoulders. And this team can go out there and focus on just play your game. Just keep getting better, and go play your game.
They also covered today, gentlemen. They did.
That's good.
A really, really good spot to be in.
So were you worried about that, Trev?
Yeah.
Because what was the FanDuel spread of? It was 25.5, right, at the end?
Yes, it was.
I was a little nervous when they had their last turnover and downs near midfield. I was like, they're going to go down and get a field goal or touchdown, and they're not going to cover this game. I'm not going to lie. I got a little nervous at the end of the game.
After CJ Carr got strip sacked, I got nervous because they got the ball. Purdue got the ball back deep in Notre Dame territory. Didn't feel great about that. And then I looked and refreshed, but Notre Dame won by 26. The line was set yeah, it was a close one. It was a nail biter, but Notre Dame covered at the end of the day, which is good news.
There you go.
Can't be too upset about that. When a team covers and they're favored by 25.5 points, it's a good day.
That's right.
It is a good day. That is for sure. A team could be favored by 17.5 at home and then lose. So that's also something that happens.
Who was that?
The Clemson Tigers.
Oh, yeah. Oh, boy.
Yeah. Yeah. Oof.
Man, and I really hope Steve Angeli's okay. That did not look good. Anytime you see a guy go down and there's no one near him, that's usually either a knee or an Achilles.
Yeah.
That was not good. That was not good because he was dealing against Clemson before that.
He was.
Absolutely dealing.
But
yes,
really
it could be worse, folks. It could be worse. You could be Clemson right now.
Sure could
be. Yeah, you could be worse. Could be worse.
All right, gentlemen, let's talk a little Notre Dame offense. We're going to sort these into two different buckets. And we're talking what went well and what might not have lived up to expectations or what we talked about throughout the week. And look, at the end of the day, like we talked about, this is a side of the ball that put up 49 points. CJ Carr finished with a passer rating of almost 250. He went 10 of 12 on the day for the 83% completion percentage. The running backs combined for 6 touchdowns. One of them came on a kick return, but still one of the 2 Notre Dame running backs combined for 6 touchdowns in this one. So, Brian, I'll kick it to you first. Notre Dame's offense, what are some takeaways?
Well, I think big picture, this game was important for me. And not because of Purdue and like, were either of you guys shocked that Notre Dame's offense went and moved the ball all over Purdue? I was nervous they weren't going to score a lot in this game. And I predicted a 35-24 win. I said, look, they're capable of winning 48-17 or whatever, but I just had this bad feeling that Marcus Freeman was going to sort of dictate to his coach on offense that, hey, look, we got a struggling defense. We need to come out. We need to control the clock. We need to do this. We need to do that. And basically just give us kind of some of the lazy, just ground and pound offense we saw from the last couple of years. And we didn't see that. First play of the game, a true play action, like a real play action, not like a, that half-hearted shotgun play action, but a real play action. And you went for a bomb on the first play. It was, they did kind of run the ball the rest of the game. That's what I loved about Denbrock's offensive game plan. I mean, I think CJ Carr went 5 of 7 in the first half, something like that. And 3 of 4. He was 3 of 4 in the first half. And then he had a scramble. And, the quarterback in me, the guy that wants to throw the ball over the yard to impress, Quentin Burrell and Julius Jones Jr., guys like that, I'm like, throw the ball more. But honestly, what I loved about this is I don't think the game plan for Mike Denbrock was let's just go out there and run the ball 85% of the time in the first half. It was, this is what the defense is going to do, and we're going to make them pay for it. If you go look at the first half of the game, fellas, Purdue came out, especially after the first play, the bomb, they were treating Notre Dame like an air raid offense that never runs the football. They were going 3-man fronts. They were doing 3-2 boxes, 3-3 stack boxes, basically saying, we dare you to run the football. We're not going to let CJ Carr beat us. And I'm like, what are they doing? Like, what is going on right now? And so Mike Denbrock said, fine, you want to give us light boxes. You want to give us, plays where you got 2-4 eyes and you're going to just give us the edge. We're going to run that at you all day. And I thought it took Notre Dame's offensive line a little while to get going. There was a couple times they were getting 4 to 6 yard gains where I felt like they probably should have, against those looks, had bigger plays. But as the game wore on, they went at it. But, I got no problem with Mike Denbrock's game plan. I mean, Trevor, you and I were kind of talking. Yeah, I'd like to see the ball get thrown a little bit more. But, honestly, guys, that's what they were giving it to him. And if you look at the first touchdown drive was 1 play. The second touchdown drive, they got to a 3rd and 3 and converted it, and a 3rd and 6 and converted it. But then you get to their next touchdown drive, and they did not. It was a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There was a 10-play drive. They never got to 3rd down. I mean, it just ran it right down their throat. It just stretch play, out cut, mid zone. CJ scrambled for a first down, mid zone, went empty, false start. You have a counter tray for 2nd 11. You get a first down. You go run for 8 yards on first down. 2nd and 2, you run, and then the next play, Jadarian comes in and takes it to the house. I mean, you're getting in a situation where you're not even getting to 3rd down. The next drive, they score a touchdown. Their 4th touchdown drive, they got to 3rd and 1. That's the only third down they got to. I mean, they were 4 for 4 on third down in the first half, and I think 3 of the 4 were third and shorts. And so I thought it was kind of taking what the defense gives you to a degree, but then being aggressive with it. And we saw a more variety in the run game today. One of my complaints last week was we just saw like mid zone and outside zone and a little kick play. They still ran a bunch of mid zones, but today it looked like they ran duo a couple times today. It looked like they ran a downhill inside zone a little bit today. Those quick hitters were just kind of gashing them. We saw counter Trey today, went for a couple big gains. Purdue is just, they're not good. Notre Dame blocked it well, but there's twice where they're gashing with counter, and Emil Wagner's getting through the hole, and he's like, there's nobody for me to block. Like, I mean, he's just looking around like, is there anybody that would like to block him, take me on and let me block them? I mean, he's now good on Emil. What Emil did a good job of, sometimes you'll see linemen do that and then stop and like look for somebody. He kept working, which allowed the back to get free, but he's looking around like there's nobody here, and so I thought that was a good job by Mike Denbrock. Second half of the game, Purdue comes out, and if you guys saw the adjustment, Purdue put a 4th defensive lineman on the field. Notre Dame still ran the ball, but you see on that first drive, they run an outcut first drive of the second half. Purdue's going with the more aggressive box. They throw an outcut on first down. CJ scrambles on second down. He hits a great throw to Malachi Fields on a curl route in between 2 defenders on third down, and then Jeremiah houses it the next time. You come out the next drive, they go duo first play. CJ throws a pass on second down, throws a pass on third down. So in the second half, when Purdue was showing more respect to the run game, Denbrock opened it up and they took some shots. And it was also one of my favorite sequences because they were really getting Purdue with those outcuts. The last outcut CJ threw was a little bit tighter coverage. So they basically came back with an out and up and got him. I'm like, that's calling the game. That's I'm not just calling plays to call plays. That's setting something up. That's seeing what they're doing and saying, hey, I think because we've hit him with this a few times, we can hit him on something. So, guys, overall, I was very pleased with the game plan from Mike Denbrock. I'll talk about some specifics later. I want to give you guys a shot to get some thoughts in before I dive too much into the specifics. But I really wanted to talk about the game plan because I was worried that Marcus Freeman was going to basically neuter Mike Denbrock in this game. So credit to Coach Freeman for not doing that. But then also credit to Mike Denbrock for saying, hey, let's go after these guys. And, we'll do the keys to victory revisited tomorrow. But, look, start fast was number 1 and attack was number 2. And they absolutely did that in this game. It was a very aggressive game plan because we've said this. You can be aggressive and still run the football. Like there was a drive in there, the long drive with Jeremiah Love where he got like a bunch of carries. I think part of the reason they didn't rotate Jeremiah out is because they were trying to go with they were kind of, the tempo was a little quicker. You notice that? Like they were picking up the tempo a little bit. That's what I want to see. So, yeah, I mean, as a quarterback, I'd love to see them throw the ball more, but they were really gashing Purdue because of the way Purdue was lined up. And then when Purdue started getting a little bit tighter to the box, they opened it up, threw the ball, and made some big plays. And at that point in time, after the touchdown to Faison, it was ball game. So incredibly well-called game, in my opinion, by Mike Denbrock. Very aggressive game plan. And kudos for Coach Freeman for not doing what I thought he was going to do, which was handcuff the offense a little bit. It's like, look, this part of our game is going. Let's keep it going. And that's exactly what they did in this game. So just looking at the offense, kind of a bigger picture, I was very pleased by that. Very pleased by that.
Sean, take it away.
Like I said, running backs always, I just love the fact that everything flows off of them. Everything should flow off of them. They're your best players. And they make the game. You see how easy they make the game for CJ Carr? They make the game very simple. I love the little signal that CJ gave to Faison on that double move. Like stutter. You know what I'm saying? That shows his growth. That shows his communication with his receivers and them being on one accord. Those are the things that made me feel like, and to go to Brian's point, I understand why he felt that way. But you look at it from the other side, Marcus Freeman knows, like, this is our best chance to win right now. This offense putting up points. Like, no, score. The only thing he shut it down when Kenny got at the game a couple of drives because I felt like they could have continued to throw the ball in certain situations. And Kenny was just late on that ball once again, but that's something we've heard going all the way back to the spring.
Just let it go, man.
Just let it
That
go.
was 6. That was going to be 6.
And Elijah is why, yeah. But just getting back to, I think everybody that stepped on the field played with an energy. That's something we wondered. Like, was this team going to be energized? They played, they did play with energy. They played with energy, and I think that permeated. I think they felt like, they wanted to prove that they weren't who they were from a record standpoint. And the only way they can disprove that is by winning games moving forward. And every game they win, it peels away at that 0-2. And so they just have to continue to work and do what they need to do. Trev, we talked about this offensive line does not have, with those two dudes in the backfield, you do not have to be perfect. You do not have to be great. You just literally stay on your block, do your job, be consistent, be clean, don't have pre-snap penalties. And when they get the ball, they are going to make things happen. And they are really, the fact that they're doing what they're doing, and I still don't think, this is what I loved about this game offensively. It's so much more they can get to that I think they will get to moving forward and peel away and reveal from this offense. Because that screen game is still there. They can go back to that. They can use RPO. They can do some other things. There's so much that we've seen in the first 3 games that's like, man, by the time they get to the middle of the season, now it's really about, man, what do we want to do? How do we want to attack? Because there's so many different ways we can attack teams. We can attack defenses. We can make adjustments. And we saw that today. Brian pointed it out. Purdue adjusted. We have to counter for you, right? We don't have to get fancy with it. Man, we're just going, you want to bring people down in the box? We're just going to throw outside. Trev, we talked Friday. The secondary of Purdue, susceptible. Very susceptible. Notre Dame took advantage of. So I think Notre Dame fans should really be I don't want to say overjoyed, but they should start to see some light. They should feel like some light is peeking through. And like Brian said, no need to really talk big picture as far as the season. But as far as the energy, the offense, the way it's trending, and, just thinking like, man, can they actually play a better and a cleaner game? Man, if the first team, they could have put up 70, 80 points today. If that first team stayed on the field,
they were 56 at the end of the third quarter. I mean, they benched their starters at the end of the third quarter, Sean.
Yes.
Hey, to back up your point, Sean, I went and counted this in the second half when Purdue was showing more of a balanced look. Notre Dame had 3 drives with the offense. They called 9 run plays and 7 pass plays. CJ scrambled on one of those, but they called 9 run plays and 7 pass plays. So again, like you said, when Purdue gave them a more balanced look, Notre Dame looked more balanced. When Purdue said, we're going to defend the pass, Notre Dame said, fine, we're going to destroy you with the best backfield in college football. That's called being a good coach.
Do you feel like they finally coached the game, stop coaching your quarterback? Or call the game and stop calling the game for your quarterback?
Go at the defense, don't protect your quarterback.
Yes. Just
like I don't think they were running the ball to protect the quarterback in that game. You don't do that if you're going to throw a freaking bomb on the first play of the game. Yeah. It was, this is what, fine, you want to show us a 3-3 or a 3-2 box, then we're just going to run it at you with Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price. They were aggressive. They went with some tempo. I agree with you, Sean. I felt like they went at Purdue. Now, it's easier to do that when you're not playing a very good opponent. I want to see what they do next week at Arkansas. But that part was good to see, Sean. Yes, it was not protecting the O-line, not protecting the quarterback. Let's go at this team. Let's be aggressive and light them up, and that's exactly what they did. Notre Dame scored a touchdown, I think, on their first let's see, would be 7 of their first 8 possessions. The only time they didn't was on the sack, the strip sack, which we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But yeah, that's a pretty good day. And only one of those was a short field, and it wasn't even that short of a field. I mean, it was in Purdue territory. But I think they started at like the 36, so it wasn't like you got the ball at they started driving against Louisville last year at the 4. You guys remember? You know what I mean? After
that,
after
block
the
punt.
fumble, right? Yeah.
Well, I know one thing: Memphis ran for 290 today.
Yeah,
that's not looking good.
Yeah.
Not for Arkansas's defense. You gave up 290 on the ground in Memphis.
I have a feeling that Arkansas is not going to come out and run a 3-3 stack against the Notre Dame offense next week like Purdue did.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Mike Denbrock is showing you now, like, I've learned from the first 2 games.
Yeah. I still don't know what Purdue was doing. Trev, what were your just overall thoughts of the offense from the game?
Yeah, I mean, they did everything that I wanted to see post-snap. I'll get to the pre-snap stuff a little bit later on after we dive into things, but I mean, look, big picture takeaway is we now see what this offense is when they have a fully balanced, full arsenal of players. You don't get a whole lot more efficient than 10 to 12. I mean, and they were effective passes.
What was it? 10 of 12 for 223.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Overall throwing 17 for 20 for 281 yards and then 254 rushing yards, including 4 team rushes for -4 yards.
Doesn't get a lot more balanced or efficient than that. First play of the game was a fantastic play call. I think CJ put to rest how far can he throw it, because that was kind of the one last, I guess you could say, knock on him.
That's one of the things that the old cats at On 3 used to criticize him for.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, just because his high school coach doesn't let him throw deep doesn't mean he can't throw deep. Gets to college and Marcus Freeman's like, he throws deep too much. Like, that's the criticism. It's like, CJ's like, I can't win. The guys at On 3 criticize me because I throw short and intermediate all the time, and then my head coach is getting on me because I want to throw the deep ball all the time.
Yeah,
I mean, why he likes to throw the deep ball.
Yeah, I mean, that pass went from Notre Dame's 26 to the Purdue 20.
Yeah.
Nah, I don't want to hear anymore, but well, how deep can
it
throw
hit Malachi in stride.
In stride.
Yeah.
Over the shoulder. It was beautiful. I don't want to hear any more about how far can he throw. No. But this running back room showed and put on full display why we believe that they're the top running back room in the country. I thought that was fantastic. Jordan Faison continues to show why he is kind of a go-to target in this offense, man. I mean, I know look, at the end of the day, I know that people have preferences of who should be getting the ball more, and we're going to get into that conversation as well. But look, man, at the end of the day, like, Jordan Faison has been pretty efficient when he's been targeted.
It's never been about Jordan Faison's not good. It's never been about that. This is his 3rd 100-yard game. It's never been about that. I mean, we said, look, everybody talks about how good Jaden Greathouse was in the last 2 games. Let's not forget Jordan Faison was your best receiver in the first 2 playoff games.
Yep.
It's that they need to get both of them going.
Yep.
That's what we're talking about. That's the frustration, and that's still there. But let's make sure it's clear. I don't know that anybody's like, Jordan Faison should not be playing or getting touches. And the thing I like too today, Trev, is the first 2 games, it was nothing but a quick game for Jordan Faison.
Mm-hmm. They're targeting him down.
They finally got him the ball down the field a little bit today, which was nice.
Yep. Absolutely. Now, I'll get to that later. But all in all, I thought everybody played well. Tight ends and wide receiver blocking on the perimeter I thought was really good tonight as well. I mean, you don't have running backs average 8 yards a carry solely because the offensive line was the only unit that played well. So I thought that Eli Raridan did a good job blocking. He had a really good block on Jadarian's, I think, first touchdown run of the game. I lost track because he had 4 touchdowns tonight. But on one of his touchdowns, Eli Raridan blocked exceptionally well. On another one, Jordan Faison and Jaden Greathouse blocked on the perimeter extremely well.
It was the 20-plus yard run to the right, Trev. I think that was Jadarian's first touchdown run, I think is what it was, the longer one. That was the one where Eli dominated somebody.
Yeah, it was.
Got a few like that.
Yep. So I thought he blocked well tonight. The wide receivers blocked well tonight. And now I've been seeing it go on in the chat. Yes, I understand. We're going to talk about the offensive line here in a second, but Gerby Lambert continues to impress me, man.
Yeah.
He does. I mean, he's starting to come on, and he's starting to come on pretty quickly. And this was a game where he played right guard, right tackle, and left tackle. So,
Yeah.
I mean, Gerby Lambert was really impressive. He was moving people today. But my big picture takeaway from this offense, man, is like, look, at the end of the day, we've always wondered what a truly balanced Notre Dame offense looks like, and we got glimpses of that today.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I hope that they break the cycle of, yes, they pushed the ball down the field today. Then they also did that against Purdue. I hope that continues as the season goes on against, Arkansas and Boise State and NC State and USC. I hope it doesn't just go back into the shell of, okay, it's a big game, let's just do quick game and we'll throw jump balls to Malachi. I hope they build on this, but it was very promising to see.
I do like the fact that in each of the last 2 games, we've seen them design shots for CJ to get the ball down the field. Whether it was the flea flicker against A&M, the slot fade, which I still don't understand why they're not running that more. I do not understand that. And then obviously today we saw a bunch of those. So I hope, and I think that gets into what Sean's saying. Instead of protecting your quarterback, how about you coach to your quarterback's strengths?
Yeah, absolutely.
Instead of protecting his weaknesses. And one thing that CJ does very well, as you guys all saw today, is throw the ball down the field. He looks so comfortable and calm today, even on that third. Now, again, it's easy to be calm when it's like, what was it, 42 to 9, to 23 at the time. But he looked so calm on that 3rd and long where he hit the ball to Malachi, just going through his progressions, just zipping it in between 2 guys. I liked how they moved the pocket with him today too. We saw, a couple bootlegs from him, throwing the ball on the run. We saw, the throwback screen. We obviously saw play action. And we saw a true sprint out in this game. And then, of course, the drop back passes. And I think that takes a little bit of that pressure off CJ as well, because he doesn't always have to worry about, okay, where's the pressure coming from? Sometimes this dude is just drop back and throw it. But, and you can worry about a quarterback because he throws that early bomb and he doesn't get to throw the ball a whole lot after that because they were just kind of ripping off big plays and just running it on him. But then when he gets a shot to throw again, it's dart. I mean, he was on point today, fellas. I mean, it was really impressive performance.
No, he was absolutely dealing. Malachi Fields went over his over again.
On the first play of the game. He went on the over. I mean, like, FanDuel, my dudes, love you. But it's time for y'all to, y'all are going to keep losing money on Malachi Fields.
Bro, I was so mad at myself. I overthought it. And I was sitting there and I was like, okay. Malachi's over his hit 2 games in a row. I think he's going to try to spread the ball around. I put in a parlay that had Jaden Greathouse's over at 22.5, and I was like, oh, maybe Faison. I was like, nah, man, I feel like it's going to be a Greathouse game. I put another one in for Eli Raridan because he had back-to-back games at 97 and 85. Then on the first play, Malachi Fields covered his over. So it's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes.
One thing I will say is, one of the questions I had about Eli Raridan is we kind of knew he could make up some plays in the pass game, but the mark of a really impactful player is when you can impact the game when you're not getting the ball. And I got to really point out Eli Raridan and Jaden Greathouse in that regard, because we're all frustrated Jaden Greathouse not getting the ball more, but you watch how he was blocking today. Go look at a couple of those long touchdown runs. I think it was also the Love cutback run in the second half. Jaden was downfield blocking. Eli had a whiff on, I think it was the first, let me go here. I think it was the second drive. It wasn't the first drive, obviously. Yeah, first play to second drive, Eli just whiffed on a block, -3 on that particular play. But very next play, him and Anthony Knapp had a very good blocks on the edge for a 10-yard gain to kind of get that back. So it went from 2nd and 13 to 3rd and 3. They converted it. I thought after that first miss, I thought Eli blocked very well in this game, very well. And so did Jaden Greathouse. And it's, Jaden Greathouse had to be sitting there in the third quarter frustrated, not getting targeted, but then he down the field blocking for Jeremiah Love and he goes for a touchdown. And that was a good sign for me, guys, because when you're 0-2 and you're struggling, you can kind of get into your own little, I want to go get mine type of thing. And we saw guys today who weren't getting the football that were still putting in work to help out other people. We saw that Eli today. We saw that. I mean, it's hard to spread the ball around. You only throw 12 passes. I don't know how much spreading the ball around you're going to do in that situation. And there were several times where they were running 3-man route combinations because they were max protecting to try to protect against the blitz, which Purdue really didn't bring much of until the last drive. But I thought that was impressive. But fellas, I mean, this backfield is just insanely good. I mean, it got to a point where I turned to Sean Stiers and I said, Purdue's over there begging Notre Dame to put Jeremiah Love back in the game. Please put Jeremiah back in the game because we can't tackle Jadarian Price. It was ridiculous. He almost popped a kick return earlier in the game. And then his first touch of the game goes for what was it, 24-yard touchdown run? Wasn't that his first carry of the game? So his first touch of the game, I think, went for 43 yards, the kick return. And then his second touch of the game goes for, I'm trying to find it here. Let's see here. His next touch of the game was a 21-yard touchdown run. He ends up scoring 4 touchdowns. Jadarian Price had 4 touchdowns today, and he touched the ball a total of 12 times, 3 kick returns and 9 carries. That is an impressive day's work. Jadarian Price and Jeremiah Love combined for, Trev, you could correct my math here, 231 yards rushing on 28 carries. I know this one. They averaged about 8.3 per carry because Jadarian averaged 8.2, Jeremiah averaged 8.3. And man, this backfield was impactful today. Very impactful today. This is the kind of performance we expect to see a lot more of from them today. It's like, why did Jadarian only get 9 carries? Well, one reason was they had Love in on that one long drive. And then other than that, it was like, well, it's like every time Jadarian touched the ball, he was ripping it off for big gains. It's kind of hard to get a dude a lot of touches when he keeps scoring all the time. But absolutely outstanding performance by the Notre Dame running backs. Like a buddy of mine texted me this, and he goes, Jeremiah Love is Notre Dame's best player. Jadarian Price is Notre Dame's best natural runner. I was like, yeah, I can agree with that. But I thought they were both outstanding today. Just Jadarian's feel, like Jeremiah had a couple cuts that I thought he missed. There's a couple like second level cuts where he went one way, and if he goes the other way, I think he might, had a bigger play. But Jadarian's feel first and second level is so exceptional, and he's really been outstanding so far. What's he got, like 5 rushing touchdowns already this season?
Sure
in
does.
3 games.
Yeah.
Plus a kick return for a score.
I mean, he has 5 rushing touchdowns and 27 touches. I mean, that is crazy efficient.
Yeah. So, and it was good to see Jeremiah finally get to the second level.
Yeah,
a little bit more. So that was a good performance. Now, they were aided by what Purdue was doing defensively, guys. I mean, Purdue was literally lining up at 3-man fronts. We'll have some film to break that down, but
I think
it was. Go ahead, Sean.
To your point, and I remember, I think Marcus Freeman said this. They didn't know what they were going to see defensively from Purdue, which probably went to the Mike Denbrock game plan of how they would be counter. They would counter Purdue today. And then, I think Purdue probably overthought things. I think they tried to go against their trends early in the game, expecting that Notre Dame would expect that their linebackers would be very aggressive coming downhill, that they would have the 4-man front. And so they tried to go and give different fronts to try and confuse the young quarterback, possibly. Maybe that's what they were trying to do. But it's never a good idea to have a 3-man front with this running game. And I don't, unless you just have Haloti Nada and nose. You know what I'm saying? Like some really good ends. It's not a good idea to do that. And I think they just overthought it instead of just coming in and, we talked about how big they were on the interior with their tackles and how that allowed their linebackers to come downhill and be aggressive. And they went away from that. They almost did what we've been saying about the Notre Dame team. Like, why are you not doing what your players do best? Like, don't put them in position to be out of position or to play to their weakness because they're not that good and they're not good enough to overcome that. So I think, Barry Odom, they, you could tell also they knew, with the trick plays early and they threw everything but the kitchen sink.
Fake punt.
No, they included the kitchen sink
Yeah.
in the first half.
Everything
Like,
and the kitchen sink. That's right.
yes, yeah. So you
The
could
kitchen
tell
sink
the
was the throw
mindset.
to Ryan Brown because they'd already ran a fake punt and
You know, they had done everything, and that was like, man, at the end of the day, that's the best you got. Notre Dame is still up double digits, and you've shown everything. So now they were out of bullets at that point. So, and that was that was halftime. They really didn't have anything to answer. So I think offensively, once again, this offense is really scary, man.
Yeah.
I don't even think they've hit their stride. They're scary. There's so many things that can happen with just think about additions, returning from injury, how that can improve things up front. You know, CJ continually getting better. Like you said, them going to if they might come with a game plan with more motion, Trev. They might make you happy one day and actually come with more motion and some other things pre-snap. You know, I think they really have some things that they can, you know, really grasp. And now that they trust, going back to what we said, now you're actually coaching against the other team. Yeah. So now that you have trust, now you can begin to expand because you do trust 13. He's earned it. He's earned it. That's the coolest thing about it. He's earned their trust. And so at this point, you know, the only thing that you can say with him is that when he does break contain, either get upfield and get 3 or 4 yards or throw it away. You know, a few times I felt like he held on to the ball just a little bit too long instead of just throwing it out of bounds. But once again, he'll learn that from just playing and being coached. He'll get that out of his system.
Sean, we talk about this all the time. I'd rather have a guy that I got to pull the reins back on a little bit than a guy that I got to be like, come on, man, go do something. And on those particular plays you're talking about, because you're correct, it's like the throw he got picked off by Jadarian Price last week. He's trying to make a play. You're going to have to learn when not to try to make a play. When to say, man, just throw it away, you know, or just run. But you want to have that. You want to have a quarterback. You've got to be like, hey, man, let's rein it in a little bit. You know, let's pull them reins back a little bit. You're doing too much than the other way around, and that's certainly where they are with CJ. But I thought, to your point, though, Sean, I thought they called the game to that a little bit more today. Like, all right, cool. This kid wants to let her rip, then let's let him let her rip. Because you knew they were waiting on that moment to go to the out and up. You knew that. I mean, they were – because I think he checked to it. I think they were like, when we get this look, then we're gonna go to that. So he saw something, went to it, and then boom, big play.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Sean, you mentioned it. That was going to be. I have very few gripes with the offense today. You know, I know we break down these offensive segments. Really, every segment into what went well, what needs improved upon. And I'm sure we'll have more when we go dive into the film. You know, more of the granular things. But I mean, big picture, one of the things that I was hoping to see today was a little bit more pre-snap from Notre Dame. I only really remember them going tempo once, and it was the check with me on the sideline thing. Picked up a first down. I think it was an out. It was an out cut to Jordan Faison, deep out that went for a first down. And they hustle up to the line of scrimmage. They get up, CJ claps, and then they slow it down, look at the sideline. Now, look, I understand on the flip side of the coin, Purdue's an opponent where you don't necessarily have to go up tempo and use a bunch of different motions. And I understand that, but it's you got to practice it in these moments so you're not asking them to do it on the road against Arkansas.
Because it's not about Purdue. It's about you. Right. Exactly, Trev. Yes, you're correct. And that's what's doing it because you need to do it to beat Purdue. You're doing it because that you need to be the kind of team that's doing that.
And that's what's so frustrating is because if you do have to get into a moment where you have to in a game again, like I said, on the road against Arkansas, at night against USC, on the road against Pitt, or on the road against Boston College, you wanted to have had those reps against the Purdues, against it. So I was a little frustrated with that. Again, we've talked about it a lot. We talked about it a lot this week. We've already mentioned it on the show today, so I don't want to beat a dead horse. But I just don't understand the lack of use for Jaden Greathouse. I don't, and I'm done trying to figure it out. It's frustrating. I don't understand it. PFF already has the snaps breakdown. He had 17 offensive snaps today. I couldn't tell you why. So until shown otherwise, that's just always going to be kind of the conundrum and the consistent that we talk about. And ideally, the next time we talk about Jaden Greathouse in a post-game show is talk about how crazy of a performance it was in a about time type of conversation, not when is the time. And then, play of the offensive line. Brian and I were talking about it. He was on his way home, and we were talking about it on the phone. And look, did they improve today? Big picture, yes, they did. And I've already highlighted Gerby Lambert for playing better. But it's also not a coincidence that the offensive line week over week steadily improves, and the quality of competition that they are facing every week steadily declines. And I don't think that that's a mystery, because the one time that Notre Dame got into an obvious passing situation, because we talked about what Purdue's defense was basically just begging Notre Dame to do for reasons that I don't fully understand. The one time they got into an obvious passing situation, the left tackle, again, left an edge rusher go, again, and it resulted in a negative play, again. And it's just one of those things where, kind of like the Jaden Greathouse thing, I could talk about it for the next 15 to 20 minutes. But
okay. I got to say this, Sean and Trev. Marcus Freeman was dead wrong in his comment. No, the quarterback does not need to step up. And I had a good friend of mine who's a good smart football guy that I just think is just trying to defend Knapp because everybody's banging Knapp. And I get it. And I appreciate where his heart's coming from. But that's 100% on Knapp. It was a 7-man max mic protection where they brought 3. So they had a nose that went right at Ashton Craig, and they brought a linebacker through the A gap, and then they brought 2 basically edge pressures off the edge. So at the snap, you've literally got a man for a man. You've got 4 against 4. The center takes the nose. Jeremiah Love steps up, takes them, and great job. His pass pro, by the way, we haven't talked enough about this. We've mentioned it. Jeremiah's pass pro has gotten significantly better this season. He doesn't wait. Remember, we used to complain about that all the time, Sean, on our post-game shows before Trevor joined, how the backs would kind of step right in front of the quarterback and then wait on a linebacker. He went to the linebacker. And so Anthony Knapp looks inside, and he was fine to do so. So people were like, well, he wasn't supposed to block outside. That's why he looked inside. No. Those 2 block those 2. There's 2 guys outside. Strouth and Knapp have to take him. Knapp is basically preparing for, if they run a twist, I have to help push that guy into Strouth and then look for the twister. When he sees them both come, soon as his guy comes off the edge, he's got to get out to that guy, which is why he steps to him and just whiffs on him. Just flat out whiffs. And I don't care who you are. A college quarterback 9 times out of 10 is not going to see that guy. I've said this a million times. There's a reason they call it blindside, because when a guy comes from your backside and he comes on your high shoulder, meaning the shoulder which is your throwing shoulder, because a lefty's going to be the other way. But when he comes on your high shoulder, you're looking downfield. I'm not going to see that. You're just not going to see that. And my buddy goes, well, don't you think that he should have expected? I say, why should he expect his left tackle to get beat? You've got 3-on-3. Everybody's accounted for. You have a 7-man pressure against a 7-man protection against 6 blitzers, 6 rushers. And they didn't overload a side. It was literally 4-on-4. And Ashton Craig did his job. Jeremiah Love did his job. Billy Strouth did his job. Anthony Knapp did not do his job. And it's like, it was only your 6th drop back pass, because they had thrown the ball 4 times, and then CJ had a scramble. And by the way, that little pump juke move he had to move the chains by CJ, that was impressive. But that kind of stuff is just really unacceptable that it's still happening. It was as easy of an edge. As soon as you see that guy come outside, you start stepping out, because once he goes on his wide rush, the only thing he can do is jab and go back inside, but you're prepared for it. That's what I keep telling you guys. He has no feel for playing in space. He has no feel for playing in space. He's a good football player, and I'm tired of Anthony Knapp getting criticized like he's not a good football player. But I'm not mad at fans that do it, because he doesn't look like a good football player, because of the fact that Joe Rudolph just refuses to give anybody else a chance to play. 0 snaps from Will Black tonight, who, by the way, continues to play guard. Just want to point that out again. But look, I'm looking at the game, guys. So the way I watch the game is I watch the series, I make notes during the series, and then during the timeout, I'll go back and watch it. And I got a lot of pluses here for 54 in the run game. You know, I mean, he can handle his business in the run game, but he's just not a natural pass blocker. You know, hey, 54 and 74 plus, 54-9 plus. I mean, there's a lot of those in here. He's a good run blocker. He's just not good in pass pro. And Marcus Freeman says all the time, hey, we got to make sure we're putting guys in position to be successful. Well, why do you refuse to do that with Anthony Knapp? Look, if you don't want to play Will Black because he's a freshman, cool. Here's a real simple switch. I thought 76 looked pretty comfortable when he went out to left tackle. Flip those two. Simple as that. Boom. Problem solved. Problem solved. Put Anthony Knapp at right guard. Put Charles Gerby Lambert at left tackle. And by the way, Trevor, you were spot on. Gerby had a couple freshman mistakes today, but overall, Gerby was getting after it today.
Yeah.
He got better in the second game than he was in the first game, and he was better today than he was in the first game. And like you talked about, they played him at 3 different freaking positions today.
Sure
in this game.
Well,
and I thought that was smart, though, by the way, when Knapp went down, to put him out there because you want to get your best 5 on the field. Your next best lineman, Sullivan Absher. So you put Sully at right guard and you put him at left guard. That's frustrating. That's frustrating because that's going to continue to hurt you. Their pass rush is terrible, especially when they were blitzing 3. They were bringing 3 in most of the early part of the game. They were bringing 3 pass rushers, and Notre Dame's offensive line did a great job other than that one play of giving CJ time. The other time he scrambled out of the pocket, it was because they brought a blitz and nobody was open. CJ had a clean lane to step out of the pocket. That's good pass pro. Yeah, the pocket collapsed a little bit because they brought more guys that Notre Dame had to block. He stepped out. I thought overall they did a good job. I just felt like the one time they brought more guys, Notre Dame couldn't handle it. And you ask yourself, well, what would Purdue have been able to do against Notre Dame if they maybe would have brought a few more guys? Instead of sit back and they tried to play cover. They try to say, hey, look, we're going to drop a lot of guys in the zone because we think their young quarterback's going to make a mistake. Dumb move. So that's kind of where it's at.
Absolutely.
The fact that your guard can easily go out the left tackle says a lot. I just want to say that.
Well,
the fact that your right guard
freshman right guard who's making his 3rd career start
can easily transition to left tackle and look more comfortable in space immediately to the eye. I can only imagine what Will Black looks like in space.
Well, Sean,
they don't know the answer to that, Sean, because he's still playing guard. In practice?
What was Gerby Lambert recruited to play?
Tackle.
Yeah.
Right or left, but tackle. Yeah.
Yeah. Recruited to play tackle. And he gets kicked out to tackle and looks like a natural. And wild.
They did.
And it's also not a coincidence that the one play he stepped in at left tackle, it was a pass play. That's not a coincidence. After Notre Dame had been gashing them in the run game. Gashing. Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't hurt them tonight, big picture, because they played an inferior opponent.
Yeah.
But you're going to get to some games where you do play teams that are good enough to get after them and do have better players.
100%, Brian. I mean, just like it didn't hurt them last year against Stanford, and it didn't hurt them last year against Purdue, and it didn't hurt them last year against Navy and Army, but it hurt them against Georgia.
Yep.
It hurt them. I mean, it's the same story. And where I get frustrated, and I know we're getting ready to talk some defense here, but where I get frustrated is college football in and of itself is a performance-based industry. It is. Mm-hmm. And we can talk about they're great kids. This is a great coach. He's a nice guy. He's a cool guy. He's great interactions. But for whatever reason, there's people and members of this team that for whatever reason, it's not necessarily a performance-based industry. And for those reasons, I remain extremely, extremely frustrated. But with that being said, at the end of the night, as frustrated as some of the things are, the offense as a whole was still really good tonight. And to Sean's point earlier, they laid the groundwork to say, okay, like we see where this is continuing to head. And that's still really, really exciting. Yeah, at one point I looked, one of the legs of the bet I did hit on which was actually really nice, is Notre Dame's total points was set at over under 38.5, which I thought was criminally low after watching them score 40 points against Texas A&M. So that was a very easy FanDuel bet for me. That was nice, at least that leg of the parlay. But at the end of the day, we're talking about an offense that put up 49 points tonight, gentlemen. Yeah. And when we can have conversations like that, that's a really good spot.
And could have scored 3-4 more times if they wanted to.
100%.
And I honestly had no problem with them taking CJ out when they did. Also, by the way.
Oh no, no.
Yeah. Do you know what receiver led the team in snaps today, fellas?
I
mean, you got to look it up. Then that's I'm like, it was Micah Gilbert. Because like I was frustrated with I'm frustrated with Jaden Greathouse's snaps as well. But in this instance, Faison only played 26. Malachi Fields only played 27. They didn't have a lot of plays on offense tonight. That's part of it too. And that fact. But my thing is like in some of the 12 personnel, actually they did something tonight I liked, fellas. I don't know if you noticed this, but there was a couple times they went 12 personnel. They put Malachi Fields and Micah Gilbert on the field together. Did you notice that a couple times? I like that. I would like to see some of that in the future because that gives you some really interesting run blocking stuff, but also some one-on-one outside stuff. We talked about that in fall camp, Trev. You and I said I wouldn't mind seeing some times where you go 12 personnel and you got Micah and Malachi on the field together. We saw a little bit of that tonight.
Micah Gilbert also has a little bit more wiggle after the catch than what I thought. Yeah, I didn't think that he was a stiff, because he doesn't have like the full frame of just like a big-bodied boundary receiver. He's like 6'2", a little over 200 pounds, but he has a little bit more quickness than I thought. That was really exciting to see, that's for sure.
I think Ty Washington the last couple of weeks has really been like solid as a blocker. He's done good work in the run game for the most part. I think at some point in time they're going to have to do something to get him to football. So I think teams are just going to start looking at him and be like, he ain't getting the ball. I could see dial up something where you maybe do some kind of sprint throwback or some kind of delay, wheel or some kind of trail route to get him the ball. But there's the overall point that we're making here is there was progress. Even look you can say, well, yeah, the opponent wasn't very good and they weren't, but that's still progress. The things they did were progress. I thought the offensive line blocked harder today. I mean, because you can dominate a bad opponent and you can tell, like, yeah, they just played a bad team. They didn't really block all that well. Sean, you remember the post-game show we did? I think you were with us when they played Central Michigan a couple of years ago, and we were like, yeah, they ran for a bunch of yards, but I wasn't really impressed with the play of the line because, like, they're just playing a bad team. They played a bad team tonight, but I thought the offensive line played hard. And, Purdue hasn't exactly been a team that just got bullied its first couple games. Running the football. I mean, you look at their performance against USC, they give up 170-something yards against USC, but those only gave up 4.5 yards per carry in that game. Their first opponent went for 3.2, Ball State. Their second opponent went for 3.1. USC ran for 178 yards, but they were 4.45 yards per carry. They only gave up 3 rushing touchdowns the first 3 games. So, yes, I know the team they didn't play tonight was very good, but your 2 running backs had 221 yards on 28 carries and averaged over 8 yards a carry on 28 carries. And the longest run was 46. So it's not like there was a 90-yarder in there that inflated the numbers. Jadarian Price averaged 8.2 yards a carry. His longest run was only 21 yards. He was gashing them. I think that I haven't done the breakdown yet, so I don't know the efficiency numbers, but I guarantee this is going to be one of the best efficiency games running the football that they've had in a couple years. That's a positive. There was only a couple run-throughs tonight, and one of them was on a tight end. I thought they did. Now, Purdue helped him again by not having as many guys in the box, but I thought they played more sound football offensive line-wise. Like, there's still some things they got to get better at. Emil still got to get better, but I thought he was better this week than he was last week, and I thought he was better last week than he was against Miami. So, overall, pleased with the progress from the line. They just got to keep getting better and better, but we're just going to continue to have these pass pro issues at left tackle. It's just until they figure something else out. But overall, I thought the offensive line to your point, Trev, took another step forward in this game, and they're going to need to do another one next week because they are playing some behemoths up front. from Arkansas
Massive
next week.
people, bro.
There's some big old boys down in Fayetteville they're going to be going up against next week,
Man.
fellas. I'm watching them. They had to play today where they were running 2 D linemen off the field. I'm like, good Lord.
Yeah.
Like those guys they were covering up like 2 people. Like when they were running off and the cameras behind, it was like 2-3 people you couldn't see, on the other side of them. Like, man, there's 2-3 cats hidden by that dude. So they're going to have to bring their A game next week for sure. Just from a size standpoint. So anyway, that's Sean, anything else to add about the offense before we kick over to the defense?
No, let's get to it.
All right, gentlemen, let's talk some defense. And obviously, this has been a hot topic of conversation, has been, and it sounds like it's going to continue being a hot topic. Look, at the end of the day, the defense in minutes that mattered in this game held Purdue to 23 points. Now, I use the term held loosely because it was a frustrating journey to get there. But what we've seen is this defense, once again, have a good performance in the third quarter. That was one thing that I have kept my eye on, is over the course of the season so far, and this pains me to say out loud, and I hate that I'm saying it out loud, but in 3 games, Notre Dame has given up 98 points on defense. Only 10 of them have came in the third quarter, which on one hand is like, okay, halftime adjustments, I guess today, if you can even call them halftime adjustments, kind of suit you well. But then also it begs the question, what the heck is happening in the other 3 quarters? So I know this is kind of a very broad question, but Brian, I'm going to kick it over to you and we'll just start talking defense and see where this conversation goes, man.
So just overall, I'm going to let Sean here talk a little bit, but just overall, here's a couple things I want to point out differently about this game. We saw some different starters in this game, third straight game where we saw a different D-tackle starting combination. Today it was Heinisch and Rubio. I want to also point out that Donovan Heinisch got blasted by fans after the first game. I did not blast Donnie. I thought they were misusing him. But even in some of the times they're asking him to just take on guys one-on-one, he's played way better the last 2 games. He was very good today. Rubio's pretty good today. They started Bronte Johnson at the field safety spot and switched Jalen Stroman to where Adon Schuler plays. We saw Dallas Golden and Mark Zachary both get their first career starts. Dallas started at nickel, thought he played pretty well. I think he had one blatant coverage mistake that I saw. Other than that, I thought Dallas played really well, flew downhill extremely well, tackled well, and then, of course, had the late pick. And then we saw Jaden Alsbury starting beside Drake Bowen first series, and then the second series, it was Drake and Kingston together in the second series. And then it was Kingston and Jaden. So did not see a whole lot of Jalen Sneed today, Trev. Did you happen to look at what his snap numbers were for this game? 14. And some of those came late in the game. So, and then we saw our first look at Madden Faramo today. So just some personnel things. We also saw Christian Gray go to the boundary where he just tends to be more comfortable. So I just wanted to point out a couple of those things, but I'm going to go off probably a little bit on defense. So I'm if I can overrule you, Trev, and allow Sean to kind of give his initial thought to the defense before I say too much. But I do want to point out this is also the second game in a row where they've talked about getting better at halftime, where it was actually the other team quarterback missing a wide open receiver on third down that allowed them to quote unquote improve in the second half. But look, that's going to happen sometimes. Guys are going to make mistakes, and they were able to take advantage. But, Sean, I'm going to give you a shot to kick this thing off a little bit. But I just wanted to point out, because it was different. Personnel-wise, it looked very different today than what we saw the first 2 games.
Well, the first thing I'm happy about, Trev, that we talked about Friday, I'm like, if you really are a good team, you say we don't need Leonard Moore to beat Purdue. Like, he's not playing. There's no need to play. We're that better than Purdue. So we're going to rest him up and get him ready for the next game. So when I heard he wasn't playing, I actually felt confident. Like, okay, good. I know he probably wants to play. But no, you're good enough. You're talented enough. Look, I said this last week. A lot of people taking shots at Mark Zachary and, saying derogatory things about him. He's a freshman. Everybody's not going to be Benjamin Morrison when they step on the field. So what? He's not Benjamin Morrison. He's put in a position to have to play, and he's going to have to learn, and he's going to take his lumps. But he's going to be a good player. because I know he's being coached right. And they're going to figure it out. He's going to be a good player. So it's too early in the game to be, making crazy statements about him and saying he's this and he's that. He's learning. And he's probably going to be better in 3 to 4 weeks. You're probably going to see a markedly better football player in Mark Zach.
Even Sean, just real quick on Mark, the good snaps today were really impressive.
Yeah.
Like the pass breakup at the end zone, like he was in great position and played. Yeah. He didn't interfere.
And played it right.
Played the ball well. But he's also a victim of the coaching, Sean, because it's like it's the same thing today. When you're supposed to be in zone, he makes man calls.
Yeah.
Like they're in a reduced formation. Like, why are you in man there?
Yeah.
Like, and then when they spread it out, you go zone. It just, so I don't
and
know
once again, it goes to
great situations today either.
It goes to you're coaching not against the opponent and what they do. You're coaching just to pull stuff out of your playbook because that's just what you feel like calling at this point. Right? The broadcast was like, yeah, after that drive, Chris Ash went over to the iPad and looked and then threw the iPad down. Why? Because you realized that was a bad call. You realized I didn't put my guys. No, you didn't realize that. You were ready to throw the players under the bus. Mm-hmm. And like you said, you're not matching up things with what the other team wants to do, which is what Al Golden week to week did. I'm going to take away what you do best every game and force you. That's kind of your job during the week as a coordinator. Like figure out what they do best and say, look, game plan is we're going to take this away. This is the game plan, guys. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to execute it. And then leave it up to us as a staff to make adjustments at halftime if they show something that we haven't prepared for or seen. It's as simple as that. I will say this. There were certain things that happened today that I felt like the defensive line, the stunts in the first half were just sloppy. I saw guys on the ground constantly. I saw guys running into each other, running stunts. I'm like, man, what is this? Is this actually practice? And then they came out in the second half, and Trev, we finally saw somebody speed rush and bend. Just simply speed rush, bend the corner, get around the corner, get to the quarterback. Thank you, Junior Tuilamaka. Thank you, Bryce Young. Thank you. The simplest thing you can do. Speed rush, swipe with your inside hand, get under, turn the corner, get to the quarterback. You can do that without all the stunts. In the first half, I remember thinking to myself, man, we got spoiled with how good. As much as we could talk about some of the flaws, man, when it came to pass rush, 56 and 99 on the interior could get after it, boy. Especially if you left them one-on-one. For 2 straight years, we would see them just get after it. And so, with not having that on the interior, you start to see man, yeah, we kind of missed that this year because we really don't have that interior guy, in passing downs that can cause havoc, get pressure in the face of the quarterback, and make them come off the primary or make them not see an open receiver. And, those things are something that hopefully they can find in some way, form, or fashion, right? But they're blitzing less. They showed the numbers on the broadcast. They're blitzing less on third down. And when they blitz, they're not getting home. So, but I do think that happened as much as people are through. Christian Gray needed that. I don't care if it was a tip pass. I don't care what type of interception. He needed something good to happen for him today. Something that he can build on to get better.
Yeah.
And it happened. That's it. It happened. The trick play, it was a great play call. Great play call. Yeah, that's his side, eye discipline, all of that. But it really was a great play call because it was something you really hadn't seen.
That's not, but they looked to be in man on that play. So I don't know that that's supposed to be Christian Gray.
He was
now.
focused on the tight end. It might have been the linebacker or
I
somebody
think
else.
it's one of the linebackers
Yeah.
probably should have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just thought it was a great play call. I really did, And Manfremo, great play. Great play getting your hands in there on the interception. And I thought he played with energy. I thought he was all over the field. Games like this, when you go up against teams like Purdue, up tempo, 3-4 wide receiver sets, to be honest, Trev, we said, what did I say in this show Friday? It's a 3-man rotation at linebacker for me moving forward. 3-man rotation. I love the fact that they threw Madden in there. But
Yeah,
for me,
I was going to ask you, Sean, is it back to 4 now?
Yes,
different
after
4?
6.
Yeah.
Just a different 4.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because I didn't know they were going to play Madden. But I would have been pleased with 4, 34, and 27 being on the field in rotation. Because it's just at that point, and I did see them use Jalen Sneed off the edge in pass rushing situations as well in the first half. So as bad as things were, Trev, I did see some things cleaned up as far as the pass rush. I saw less defensive linemen on the ground in the second half. Still miffed about some of the calls, some of the play calls, some of the coverages. I will say this: that was a markedly better defense with a Don Schuler in the secondary in the second half, and I expect. See, this is why I'm not as harsh, because I look at this game and say, "Oh, this is a much better performance." It wasn't a huge jump, but it was marginal. And the truth of the matter is, it probably would have been better if Leonard Moore was on the field because of his ability to lock down one side of the field. Now, it probably would have made it incrementally better than the increment that improved, but we're talking about just trying to find some positive lights here, man. Another thing, they got 2 turnovers. They weren't getting turnovers. They got 2 today. Oh, let's start that trend, right? They had a chance for another one on the strip sack that Purdue ended up recovering. So now they're actually producing opportunities and producing turnovers. Can they, start to build on that? Man, you just want some things defensively that they can build on and move forward, because it looks like they're going to be playing some young players moving forward. And if you're playing young players, they get better by playing, and they're going to make mistakes as they play, right? Dallas Golden, I think early he was in Marcus Freeman was very upset with one of Ryan Brown's early scrambles for a first down, because Dallas Golden should have been able to come up and keep that to a 5-6 yard gain. He's looking like, man, what are you doing? Well, that's something. In time, he'll recognize that. He'll get up. But of course, what does the young man do? He comes out and makes dude. You see the physical gifts in that interception. It's bananas. That's a bananas interception. And Tate had some really good plays. Don Schuler on the little curl route they tried to run in front of him. He read it, came downhill fast, got in there, almost made the interception. There are some things individually that you can point to and say, okay, we can hang our hat on this. We can build on this and feel pretty good going into Arkansas that things are going to get better. But ultimately, it comes down to, for me, I'm not going to start on the back end. It's Chris Ash in that defensive front, which is basically Chris Ash and Coach Washington. That's where it starts for me, because what I saw in the first half, you can't be that sloppy in pass rush. You can't have guys running stunts, running into each other. You can't have guys running stunts into the
Multiple
same
times.
hole multiple times. What that right there? Because we get on what we see on the offensive line. That right there can't happen. That can't happen. And if you have to simplify and just say get upfield and get into a gap and beat your man, then that's what you do. Even if you have to go to, I would much rather see them go to simulated pressures and actually make teams have to guess where the pressure's coming from. If you're not going to bring the pressure, at least give them the idea that the pressure is coming and then drop. So you speed the process of the quarterback up, or you give them a different picture. Do something.
You mean
Don't
like on the
just-
3rd and 6 when they brought 6 guys and Brian Brown panicked and they got to him? You mean like
Yes.
that?
Yeah.
Like that kind of
Stuff like
play?
that.
Got it.
Stuff like that. Or stuff like they did to Marcel Reed in the second half, and he was terrible.
After he had
Against
2
pressure.
wide open go balls that he just whiffed on, then they're like, maybe we want
Yeah.
to pressure this freaking guy.
Yeah. That. Pick up on that. That when we actually apply pressure, good things can happen. So I'm going to be positive. I'm going to be the positive guy tonight in the midst of giving up 30 points and say there are some really good things that you can hang your hat on moving forward. Some players had some good things happen for them that needed to happen. The turnover, momentum, let's get that going. Sacks, let's build upon that. See if we can get more pass rush next week. Like you said, they're going to be facing some big horses next week.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to use their speed and cause havoc. That's what they're going to have to do, man.
Yeah, I don't disagree, Sean.
I do. I'll get to that. I'm not going to be positive tonight, so let's let you go, Trev.
You don't have to. You know what? I purposely.
I know.
Can't have 3 dudes being negative, man.
I know.
Okay?
I know.
So I purposely started out with the positive, and now you guys can just go ham.
It's the shirt. It's the shirt. It put him in a good mood. It relaxed him a little bit. I get it.
I could wear whatever shirt if I watch that defense again. I'll be in a bad mood. Look, man, there were some positives. Hopefully the interception is what Christian Gray needs to kind of find his mojo again. It was also hats off to Dallas Golden, true freshman. He gets an interception late in the game. That was awesome to see for him. I will say the team did tackle better tonight. They, as of right now on Pro Football Focus, before they go back through and reevaluate the numbers, only 2 missed tackles on the night. That's a good performance. I don't care who you're playing. Only 2 missed tackles. I'll take that, especially after allowing 21 in your first 2 games. That is a significant improvement. Here's where I start to get a little disheartened. The defense, opposed to what Sean talked about on the offensive side of the ball, I think they play with 0 energy across the board, like as a unit. I mean, you watched Drake Bowen fly downhill, blow up a shallow crossing route. Nobody's celebrating and get up.
Other than him.
Yeah.
Right. Other than
you
him.
know, you watch Jalen Stroman on the first drive of the game fly downhill, blow up a play. I mean, to where the crowd, you can hear the crowd whenever there's a big hit. Just, ooh. Mm-hmm. Defense kind of gets up, and stretches a little bit, and fail to get the play call in. It's like, this is not the same unit that we saw a year ago from an energy standpoint across the board, like all 11 guys. That's really disheartening to see. And if you can't get up for a big hit, you can't get up for, then that's just not. I don't know what else to say about the energy outside of that. That wasn't great. I know Brian's going to dive into it more, but look, man, nothing changed. It didn't. This is the exact same defense. The exact same defense we saw against Texas A&M. They just played Purdue. They played a team whose running back was Devin Mockabee and not Le'Veon Moss and Amari Daniels and Reuben Owens. They ran the same defense. They just weren't going up against a top 10 offensive line in college football. They played the same defense. They just weren't going up against Casey Concepcion or Mario Craver or CJ Daniels or Malachi Toney. Mm-hmm. And you still gave up over 60 yards to their slot receiver. It's the same defense, and it's so disheartening. I mean, my big picture takeaway from the defense is just thankfully they were playing Purdue. I mean, Ryan Brown, his over-under on FanDuel was set at 167.5, and that got covered, I think, in the first quarter and a half. I mean,
what was he had at halftime? Let's see here. First quarter, Ryan Brown had 88 yards, and then second quarter he had. So this would be 136. So at halftime, Ryan Brown had 224 passing yards at halftime.
There you go.
Halftime.
It's just the same. I mean, the issues with the coverage structure are still the same. I have never seen an entire unit in the safety room digress so much with not attacking the football. Back-to-back weeks now, we've seen Jalen Stroman just not attack the football while it's in there.
Mm-hmm.
Back-to-back weeks. I don't know what the deal is. I don't. Yeah. It's disheartening. That's all I got on the defense. Brian, I'll kick it down to you, but it's just overall, it was the exact same defense we saw. They just played Purdue.
Again, Trev, I think to your point about guys not playing with fire, I think it's because of the way they're being coached. It's
oh yeah.
They're not being allowed to play downhill, to play fast. I say it again. This isn't a man versus zone thing because they don't play man very well either anymore. Oh, I mean, what about criticizing Mike Mickens for what? Like, do we honestly think Mike Mickens just forgot how to coach football? You know, he's teaching what he's being told to teach. And you watch them play zone today, and it's not that I have a problem with zone. A perfect example is on the touchdown drive at the end of the first half. They run a seam route. Dallas Golden works out to the guy and doesn't even remotely try to touch him. And, well, did he mess up? No, he didn't mess up because that's what happens every single time a guy runs down the field. You can't play zone and just allow guys free runs into lanes because guess what? The timing is going to be easy. You can't just say, hey, we're gonna bring 4, but you can't bring 4. Well, if we're gonna bring 4 and play zone, then we got to do this. Well, look, you can't play zone, bring 4, and then they can't remotely close to get to the quarterback, and then on top of that, you're not rerouting. That's just making it way too easy on the other team. Way too easy for the other team. Excuse me. And that's a coaching thing. You can complain and whine and cry about the players doing this and the players doing that all you want. And are there things the players got to do a better job of? Yes. Are the players being asked to give up this play? No, they're not. But at the end of the day, when the players keep making the same mistakes over and over again, you've got to be able to look in the mirror and say, dude, this is a me problem. We're not coaching this. We're not teaching this. And for the third game in a row, they enter a 2-minute situation and they're just soft and just let them go right down the field. Like, this is on you at this point in time. This is on you. Well, they're not rushing the quarterback. Okay, I get that, but you know that now. And then you finally get to the second half. They're in the 3rd and 6. You heat them up, and Ryan Brown looks like he's never seen a pass rush before. Well, in this game, he hadn't really seen a pass rush before. But you saw that Sean brought it up. You saw that last week against Marcel Reed, and they actually started to bring some 5-man pressures. And you listen to Marcus Freeman talk after the game, and I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? Like, he's talking about the defense. How would you assess the overall play of the defense? And he says, I mean, just again, as you look at the first half, it's more so the explosive plays. We got to continue to try to decrease. You know, I watched them burn the break. Again, I can't remember every single play, but it was actually, here's what I remember. It was a marriage of the front end coverage. Okay. Yeah. We keep saying that. There are times in coverage, if you're playing man or zone, if the quarterback can step up and scramble and extend play, something will be open. When we do pressure and we bring 5, since when did like 5 become like this overload pressure type of situation? Sorry, it's commentary, but he says, when we do pressure, we bring 5, we can't allow the quarterback to sit back there, especially in man coverage, or somebody will be coming open. Duh. We do have to do a better job of marrying up the coverage in our front and make sure we're going to play coverage. We're going to play with 7 guys in coverage. Then 4 guys are going to have to get some type of pressure on the quarterback. But also, we got to understand, okay, we might have to cover a little bit longer. And so, again, to that point, if that's true, then do things to help yourself, like, rerouting, jamming, being more physical at the line of scrimmage, having D linemen get their hands up more if they're not going to get to the quarterback. Different story for a little bit. If we're going to bring 5 guys of pressure, then we shouldn't have to cover that long because we've got to get pressure. And so you look at the first half, I think that was the thing. Second half defense, I thought after the 2-minute drive, which that's the one that really hurt me, us, not me. That drive, I think there was anything there. I don't think there was anything we tried cover 1, cover 2, cover 3, cover 4. What happens is you start to panic. Okay, this coverage isn't working. Let's try this. This isn't working. Let's try this. It's like, are you serious right now? This is what you're saying about your D coordinator. Then you're doing nothing. You're doing nothing. They're going to make plays. They're going to make some plays. You have to trust, hey, this is our game plan. This is what we can do, and execute. You got to trust your players to go out there and get it done. I thought after that, they did a really good job to that last drive. Not really, they didn't. And let's talk about this. So first drive, so basically halftime was the break. The last drive of the second quarter was part of the second half. They went right down the field and scored a touchdown. So let's look at the second half here by Old Purdue. Okay, so you come out of basically halftime and you let them go right down the field and score. Then Notre Dame's offense goes down and scores. It makes it, 42-23. They run a first play. They give up a 13-yard gain, a little inside run. They run a toss play, and Madden Faramo and Bubakar blow it up. It's 3rd and 5. They run a quick out against off coverage, and the guy's wide open, and the quarterback hits him right in the chest for what should have been a first down, and he drops it. That ain't you. That's not on you. You come out the second half, you give up a little quick inside run. Next play, 2nd and 6, Junior gets a great pressure off the edge. 3rd and 6, you bring the house, and you get a sack. Your offense had just gone down the field and made it 49-23. You finally make that stop, and they go down the field and score on a very long drive and make it 56-23. Ball game's over at that point in time. And so then they come out the next drive. They run a little screen pass for 8 yards. They have a 4-yard run to get a first down. Bubakar has a stop. It's 2nd and 11. They make a little stop, and then they get a holding penalty that stops themselves. Now, part of the thing is there are times when they're just flat out getting held. I mean, there's a play in the first half where Bubakar, the guy literally has his arm around Bubakar's neck, and he's trying to put him in a sleeper hold. No call. So part of that is you got to teach them to do a better job of using their hands to not allow them to get face-to-face that easily to where guys can hold as easily as they are. It's a lot easier to hold a guy when you're that body to body and you don't get that bend. Sean talked about get that bend around the edge when you're not doing things to try to win with additional moves and using your hands to get them off of your body and things like that. And so they're going to have to do a better job with those type of things. But there was an overall lack of discipline. There was a time where a guy slanted inside and just opened up this wide scramble lane for the quarterback. I mean, you just can't have those type of things. So what we saw today was an extension of what we've seen before, which is a team trying to run a certain concept that the coach thinks is going to really be smart. A lot of checks, a lot of adjustments, a lot of receivers running free. No rerouting, no press against man coverage, not getting a bye. I mean, Mark Zachary got beat in man coverage for a big play. Didn't touch the guy. That's inexcusable. You say, well, Mark Zachary did. Hey, that happens every time. No matter who they're doing it. So this is one of those things where you're not teaching things that are smart. You're not. And I thought actually today was partly about Christian Gray looked better because he was playing a position he's more comfortable in. Like I'm watching that 3rd and 5 play on the first drive of the second half. And Notre Dame lines up, 4-man pressure. They're kind of moving around. They're not sure what they're doing. Nobody knows what they're doing. I'm not quite sure what Kingston's doing, going downhill. Like he's going downhill like he's defending some kind of flat route. There's nobody going there. I don't know what he's doing. I have no idea where he's going. There's a guy working vertically and he's going downhill like he's protecting some. I'm looking at 4th time in a row. I have no idea what he's doing. And we see these things all the time. Like they're looking to the sideline. They don't know the call. They're talking to each other. Like they don't have a clue what's going on. And then you wonder why Kingston's blowing a coverage. I don't think they had any idea what they were trying to get into. Madden's playing off coverage, easy 5-yard. Should have been an easy 5-6-yard completion. And the quarterback hits him right in the chest and he just drops it. That's not you making a play. That's them making a mistake, which is exactly what happened last week against Texas A&M. The times you did stop him, it was a quarterback missing a wide open receiver for a 90-something yard touchdown pass. So I just think those things just were not sound. And there's just no answers. And when your head coach says that, I don't think there was anything that we tried cover 1, we tried cover 2, we cover 3, cover 4. What happens is you start to panic. Oh, this coverage isn't working. Let's try this. This isn't working. Let's try this. Maybe it's not the coverage. Maybe it's you're not teaching them how to thrive within those coverage structures. That's the whole problem. You don't let them play downhill. You don't let them attack. I rarely saw Kingston Viliamu-Asa attacking the quarterback today. Again, he's one of your most gifted pass rushers, and you're not using him to rush the passer. You're blitzing Drake Bowen. Now, and then half the time they blitzed Drake Bowen, there was one play early in the game, fellas, where first drive of the game, they did a second drive of the game, I think maybe it was. They brought a Drake Bowen on a zone fire. And I'm like, did they just drop Junior Chilamaka and Kingston Viliamu-Asa in the coverage? Did they just zone fire that with 4 guys? They ran a zone fire with 4 guys rushing the quarterback. They got 6 blockers. Last I checked, you don't have Reggie White and Lawrence Taylor in there. And when teams are keeping 6 into protection, what are you doing? And then you're bringing 4 guys, and you're just letting running backs run free every week. Like, you're not teaching these players how to play this defense. Again, this isn't man versus zone because they're not very good running man coverage either. But then they run man in situations where they should be running zone. And they're running zone in situations where they should be running man. There's no rhyme or reason to it. And it's because I just don't think you have a situation where the people making the decisions are really have a grasp of what's going to work. And they don't have a grasp of the talent. They don't have a grasp of how to use certain guys. It's a little maddening. I'm watching Jordan Patel basically do the same thing snap after snap after snap. Like all the twists are like inside twists. It's just it's a very poorly coordinated defense. And you started this freshman and that freshman and this freshman and redshirt freshman. I'm like, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. You've had to put a freshman on the field each of the last 3 years. And then every time you've had to do that at cornerback, they've stepped up and thrived. Remember 2 years ago in 2023 when Benjamin Morrison was injured and couldn't play? And then Cam Hart got hurt in the first quarter, and they had to play the rest of the game with Christian Gray and Jaden Mickey, who's a true sophomore and a true freshman. And they dominated. Well, Pitt sucked that year. Yeah, okay. Purdue sucks. And Pitt had a receiver on that team that got drafted. So, all of a sudden Mike Mickens forgot how to coach the secondary. You know what I mean? Like, all of a sudden Max Buller forgot how to coach linebackers. There's the only thing that changed is the defensive coordinator. Those guys didn't change. Are we going to believe that Al Golden coached the linebackers, corner, safeties, and D-line last year? No. You're not putting your players in position. You're running schemes that you think on paper work. They're not things that are like, hey, are we playing to the talent of the young men that we have on this football team? Hey, we have a lot of freshmen, so maybe let's simplify things a little bit and just let them play downhill and go after it. Maybe we should do that. Hey, we got a lot of young freshmen in the secondary, so maybe we should you guys tell me if I'm nuts here. So you're going into this game and you're missing your All-American corner and you're missing your captain, senior captain, or junior captain safety. So you're starting a true freshman at nickel, a true freshman at field corner, a redshirt freshman at one safety, and a transfer guy at the other safety spot. And then Christian Gray is playing a new position he hasn't really played, since 2023. Maybe a good idea with that reality is that we're going to be a little bit more aggressive with our pressure package so these guys don't have to cover longer. So they don't have to do all these cover 2, cover 4. I mean, you just kind of indicted yourself. You had 3 freshmen on the field, and you're talking about on one drive, you ran 5 different coverages on one drive at the end of the half. Maybe you should have heated him up a little bit, not giving him a chance to make some of those plays. I'm just saying. And so that's on you. Well, we had a lot of young guys. Well, you had a lot of young guys last year in the secondary as well. You had a lot of young guys in the secondary the year before that. You had a better secondary when you had Clarence Lewis playing at cornerback 3 years ago than what you have right now. So you can say, well, Mark Zachary this and Dallas Golden that, and I'm like, this is the same stuff that used to drive me nuts under Brian Kelly, because when coaches were obviously failing at doing their jobs, everybody wanted to take the easy route and revert to blaming the players, including the head football coach. Now, I'm not saying that Marcus Freeman did that in this press conference. I only read that one part. I didn't read the rest. And I don't think even what he was saying there was necessarily saying the players didn't execute. He talked about those kind of things, but I didn't get the impression that that's what he was saying. But at some point in time, you've got to be willing to look in the mirror and say, this is on us. We're not using them well. And we're not going to keep trying to do the same things, but just coach it a little better. Let's say, hey, maybe we need to do some things where we allow the young players to just go play ball and not have to think a bunch. Why do you have a true freshman and a true sophomore linebacker doing all this communicating with each other pre-snap? Just line up and play. You act like Purdue just came out and did some like 8-man shift. Shifted 3 guys over, motion that way, paused, motion shifted back that way, ran an orbit, and they're confused. No, they freaking ran a post-snap switch with a quick out cut. And your guys didn't know how to play it. Your incredibly gifted linebackers didn't know how to play it. Maybe at some point in time, start looking in the mirror and say, yeah, this is me. This is a me problem. This is me. This is all me. That's my bad. Because we saw the offensive coordinator say, okay, this is what my quarterback is good at. Let's let her rip. Let's let him go play. Let's do it. Let's go at him. But defensively, it's like, no. We're going to do my scheme. And it's up to you guys to figure it out. And when it doesn't work, I'm going to slam my iPad on the ground and get all up in my feelings. And I've never seen a coach slam an iPad because he thought he did something wrong. So this was nothing different than what we've seen, fellas. It's just it was against a worse team.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
I know when I played zone defense in basketball, it was 2 things we look for: ball and man. You have to have your eyes on both. You have to know where the ball is, and you have to know where the man is in your zone. And you have to feel him while you're knowing what the ball is. I see too many people in zone looking at the quarterback and paying absolutely no attention to the wide receivers running through the zone. Like no feel to whomever's in that zone, and no marriage to, well, I know my guy's there to my left, so I don't have to venture too far to the left because the receiver, he's going to make the receiver come to me. Like there is literally no communication, no continuity, nothing. And I didn't play secondary, but I would think if you're playing zone that you have to have your eyes on the man in your zone, and you have to be aware where the ball is and have a quarterback as well. It's pretty simple. So as far as what's being taught, and I struggle with our linebackers don't even look like they get depth in zone.
Mm-mm. Well, there's I think it was Kingston one time. Just it's like, dude, you got to drop underneath that. Like you got to play that. Drake gets caught looking downhill on a scramble one time. Like you got to play better than that. Like I thought Drake did a good job the first 2 games of getting depth, but I thought in this game they weren't doing as good of a job getting depth.
No, you see they're just popping it right over their heads. The one play you pointed out where you had Zachary and Dallas Gold and the receivers, like, dude, you should have squeezed that. When you saw a 3rd down play properly squeezed in zone, was Madden in zone or man? He was in zone that play when he tipped it for the interception. I can't remember.
Well, I mean, it's sort of he was in. It looked like zone to me, but you've got to play that guy when he, that route.
He's in your zone.
Play that
exactly.
Route, yeah.
And
I could be wrong on that.
It looked like he squeezed it the way it was supposed to be, and he tips it. They get the interception. And it's just certain things, Trev. When it wasn't a rant. When I was just talking about give your players something that they can be excited about. And one of the things I said defensively, dude, we're going to play these two coverages today. This is it. This is our man concept. This is our zone concept, whether it's 2, 3, 4. Like when you hear like 5 different coverages in one series, like, man, what do we just line up?
Well,
Like
that's the
one of the best
definition.
defense.
It's the definition, Sean, of throwing something against the wall and hope that it sticks.
Man.
That tells
Freeman
me
admitted that. That's what his comment is saying, Trevor.
That's my takeaway is, yeah, we didn't really know what was going to work, so we just tried a bunch of different stuff. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I got one option that you could try that I know, unfortunately, isn't on the table. And that's what's frustrating about this whole thing, man. There is one thing that I will listen to that was a carryover from last year, and you still just can't get a consistent pass rush. Like, respectfully, I don't care what they did in the third quarter when they knew Purdue had to pass to, I guess, try to get back into the game. And then they were comfortable with a 30-point lead to finally start sending pressures. I have zero faith that this pass rush can get home with any sort of efficiency when a game is on the line. None. Absolutely none. So that is the one carryover from last year where it's just like, okay, this is still, and it's from a technical standpoint. Like, it is to the point it's like, okay, like these guys as pass rushers just aren't taking the necessary steps that they need to. They're doing the same moves that they did last year, and just sometimes it gets home. That's just math. You do it enough times, eventually it will work sometimes. That's what the pass rushing strategy feels like. The back end coverage structure, I got no answers for it. It doesn't sound like the defensive coaching staff does either.
No, it's way too soft. It's way too. It's just there. It's just a very passive zone structure. You can be a heavy zone team and be physical. I mean, the Seahawks were physical. You see teams in college football play zone defense, but there's got to be some aggressiveness to it. Nick Saban ran a ton of zone at Alabama. He ran a lot of match zone. And that allowed you to be physical, but this is just like, these guys, these are pure cover 3, like football 101. I can't tell you the last time I saw someone run a cover 3 the way that Notre Dame's running cover 3. At the college level anyway. I've seen it in high school all the time. But you have to allow guys to play. You have to allow guys to play fast and physical on defense. And at the end of the day, the entire structure of this defense is geared towards not playing that way. And I know that because nobody's playing that way. Last 2 weeks we've seen Drake Bowen get some big hits on guys, but they're like in space, solo hits. It's not because he's playing downhill. He's not laying guys out at the line of scrimmage. It's stuff in space because that's the only time he's allowed to like open up and run is when he's chasing someone in space. And the way they're blitzing them, it's like, and same thing with Kingston, they're like running right down the middle of guys. They're all making the same mistake, really. Jalen Sneed, say whatever you want about Jalen Sneed, but the one thing he was pretty decent at the last couple of years was getting after the quarterback. He can't even do that now. Like, when you see this kind of regression across the board, fellas, at some point in time, you've got to say, you're telling me the entire team, players, were just not working to get better this offseason? Or maybe say, hey, what's the one thing that's changed? And you can say, oh, look, they didn't have Leonard Moore, they didn't have a Don Shula in the first half, they didn't have Devontae Smith, they didn't have Jared Dawson in this game. Okay, I get it. This is still Purdue. The guys you put on the field are still more talented than the guys that you were facing off against Purdue. And all those guys at Purdue are brand new to that team as well. They're on game 3 and 4 at Purdue. So I don't want to hear it. Dallas Gold is still a more talented football player than anybody he was being asked to cover today. Same with Mark Zachary. Same with Tay Johnson. But when you're allowing these but like, think about that play by Madden. I went back and looked at it, Sean. It was zone. That guy, the running back, ran like was trying to run an angle route into his zone. He did a great job of jumping it, being physical, and getting after it. That's what you need to be doing all the time. You run into my zone. I'm now matching with you. I got to jump you. I'm going to take this route, get my hands in front. Did a great job of not yanking the other side, getting that hand out, knocking the ball in the air. It was a zone coverage. And because it was zone, Christian Gray's in a position to pick off the pass. So again, this isn't a zone versus man thing. This is a lack of aggressiveness thing. The stat that was most telling on that is that last year Notre Dame blitzed on 47% of their third downs. This year they're at 30%. That is incredibly poor,
I
in
mean,
my opinion.
one of the most
Incredibly
telling
poor.
stats. One of the most telling stats that I saw in the game. They pulled up the graphic. Opponents on 3rd and 7 or longer against Notre Dame's defense convert 41% of the time.
That's ridiculous.
It was just terrible. You're also still, for the 3rd game in a row, not using the correct personnel. Logan Thomas played 9 snaps tonight. Guess what he did in one of those 9 snaps? He got a pressure. Shocker.
Those against the backups, I believe, right?
Yeah, who knew?
So, like, he wasn't even getting snaps with the first team. He was getting snaps with the second team. I will say this, though, guys, as I'm kind of going through my notes and some different things, I did feel like the pressures in the second half or the line games in the second half were better. The problem, Sean, to your point, the reason they're running into each other is because they're both working this way. Nobody's working upfield. A twist has to be one guy's going this way and the other guy's looping. When they're both looping, so I do think that was the one adjustment that I saw is in the second half, even in the 4-man pressures, you saw one lineman working hard to get upfield and then the other was looping around. And guess what? That's why they had a couple plays where I didn't think Ryan Brown looked super comfortable. Even on that 3rd and 5 he missed, he looked like he rushed it a little bit. Now, he hit the guy in the chest, and I think maybe the guy dropped it because maybe the ball got there too quick because he had to get rid of the ball a little too quickly. I'm looking for something, but the point is, that is one good thing we saw, I guess, when you talk about adjustments. But some of this stuff was just, your offense gave you a huge lead to work with, and then it was a little easier to cover because you knew what they were doing. But I will say this too. Let's talk some positives on the defense. The run defense the last 2 weeks has been very good. Now, the cynic in me wants to say, why is your game plan geared towards stopping the run defense, the run of a team that sucks running the football, which Purdue does? But I don't think the defensive game plan was geared towards stopping the run. I just think the defensive line did a great job being physical at the point of attack and not letting Purdue's offensive line getting any kind of movement. Because they were stuffing the run with 4 or 5-man. It was like 4 D linemen and then a linebacker would run fit and crash. They had the one run they gave up early that was a bad run fit. I do think the defensive tackles, for all the crap people want to give them, they've been very stout against the run the last 2 weeks. Very stout. And the defensive ends did a much better job today of being disciplined, setting the edge, and not letting the ball get outside and funneling it back inside. So that is a positive. Now, again, this is not a team that runs the ball very well, Purdue, but you did what you needed to do, and you shut them down. So I thought that part was very good. This is, again, I'm not getting too wrapped up. This is a team that has played 2 FBS teams prior to tonight's game, and in both games, they were held less than 100 yards. So this is not a team that runs the ball very well. But you did what you needed to do, and, kudos to that. But and at least 25 of those yards of the 76 rushing yards they gave up were scrambles. Or at least 21, excuse me. I know for a fact Brown had a 10-yard scramble and an 11-yard scramble. So looking for some positives, I think that's it. And I also think that, Sean, we thought Dallas Golden was going to be a star. And it was one game, and there's a lot to clean up. But, this is who we thought he was. And I just got to ask myself, he hasn't shown this before this week? What made you think that 21 was better than 14?
I mean, added to the list of players that needed to wait for an injury or somebody else in front of them to go down to get their shot.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But we can save that conversation for another day as well.
Yeah, I think, to what both of you guys have said, and things that you can hang your hat on, I think we really need to think about what you pointed out. Like, there seems to be some coaching that took place with the stunts, with the games up front, and guys listened and they built, right? And they were better in the second half. And yeah, you just want to have building blocks, man. You want to have building blocks because this defense, honestly, as frustrated as we were after the Miami loss, they played worse against Texas A&M defensively. right? So you saw the defense getting worse. And then today, now it's like, okay, let's get back to at least what we saw, or build back to at least what we saw against Miami. Because if this team is holding teams in the 20s, I know we're used to Notre Dame giving up 10, 13, 14 points. But if this team this year gives up 20 points to teams, they're going to win this. They're going
to win a ton of games. But here's the thing, though, Sean, is you're assuming that the redshirt freshman quarterback's never going to have an off day, or the offensive line's never going to have an off day, and that's putting a lot of pressure on that side of the ball. You guys better hope that you can score over 30 every week. But my question would be, Sean, did the defense really improve today, or did they play, to Trevor's point, did they play an inferior opponent?
I think it was a mixture of both. I'm not going to say that they improved. I'm saying there's certain things that you saw that you did not see.
I get that.
Regardless of the opponent.
So we're agreeing on that. There was obvious coaching adjustments in the second half. What I'm saying is speaking to your second point. So we agree on that. And that's why I brought that up, is you look at the defensive line stunts in the third quarter. It was obvious they were doing things different. And you even actually, a couple of them looked good on the touchdown drive, but they were getting the ball out so quick. I mean, I've never seen anything like that before at Notre Dame. Like, well, yeah, I have. But it was a different goateed defensive coordinator, a little less than a decade ago. But that's a different story. My point, Sean, is more so looking at a bigger picture. I'm asking, do you think they improved today, or do they play an inferior opponent? This isn't pushing back on the comments that you were making. I'm asking a genuine question, because my takeaway is I don't think they necessarily improved.
Now, they improved on what they did last week, just from a tackling standpoint. That right there.
Good point. But you're not playing against Mario Craver. You're not playing against Casey Concepcion, Le'Veon Moss. That's kind of where I keep looking at it.
But that makes it easier.
Yeah.
You know, like I saw people in the chat, somebody's Purdue. Dude, wait a minute. We can't have it both ways.
Right.
We can't have it both ways. Because when we're doing shows during the week, everybody was like, yo, I don't care how they win. We just need to win. Okay. Yeah. And now it's really a 30-point win. They score a late touchdown. They tackled better. They did certain things better. Certain guys needed things to happen positively for them moving forward, and it happened. It was against Purdue. You can't have it both ways, because you weren't saying that when you were just saying we just need a win.
Yeah,
I don't care if it is Purdue. We just need a win.
I was Trev was like. But I get what you're saying, Sean.
No, because Trev said, you said it. Trev said we all agreed, like, how this happens matters.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And if how it happens matters, then you have to check all the negatives that continued, and then you have to make a check for the things that improved from Texas A&M, and point those out as well. Now you judge whether or not overall big picture, whether or not you want to say it was an improvement.
That was
the team they faced.
My question, Sean, is I was, agree with what you said, because you built on something I said. So I was asking a different question about the evaluation. Trevor, you had something to say about that?
Yeah, Sean, I get where you're coming from. I do, because on one hand, you don't have some of the individual performances that you had on Notre Dame's defense tonight if there wasn't some level of improvement. That I agree upon. The bigger issue is, unfortunately, for the offense, we talked a lot about, like, all right, let's talk about this unit versus Purdue and what they did. It's so hard for me to look at that on the defensive side, though, and that might be a little bit, contradicting to some people. But I can't look at this unit and what they did against Purdue and say that it's replicatable against Arkansas and against USC and against Pitt or against – I think that's where – because the offense, we saw them take another week and they're stacking weeks of improvement. Whereas the defense,
and they destroyed Purdue. That's the point. They played an inferior opponent, but they looked like what a great unit's supposed to look like against an inferior opponent. They annihilated them.
Yeah.
Scored on 7 of 8 possessions. Is that kind of what your point to, Trev? Like, that's what it looks like to say, yeah, we played a bad opponent, but you can tell we got better because we shredded that team.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Like to some degree. I mean, I was the one that brought up the better tackling stats, but again, you were tackling Devin Mockabee. Your tackling stats better be better against Devin Mockabee. I'm sorry, I said it during the week. He's a quality running back. He's in the lower third of Big Ten running backs, but he's not terrible. I think that Jason Garrett actually brought it up in the broadcast. They were talking about how he is like one of the nation's leaders in like yards after contact, and Jason Garrett was even like, that's also not like as good of a stat as what some people make it out to sound like, because that means you're getting hit pretty quickly after you get the football. It's not like you're breaking tackles 5, 6, 7, 8 yards down the field. But point being, Sean, you're not wrong in that, like, there were people that took necessary steps today. And there were something like Christian Gray, for example, needed to happen. But it's still today,
I thought he played well today.
He did. And it was a step in the right direction for hopefully when he's going up against, an Omega Blake or going up against a Mekhi Lemon again in a couple weekends, that it's like, okay, use this to build on. But overall, big picture, it's just, and we all know it, just one guy on defense isn't enough to be like, all right, Christian Gray's back. The defense is going to start holding people to 20 points a game again. Because at the end of the day, they didn't even hold Purdue to 20 points. So it's hard for me to project that and say, well, if this defense can hold other teams to 20 points when they didn't do it against a significantly inferior opponent that they just played. That's where I'm at. Like, stunts got better. Those got executed better. You still waited until the third quarter to make any significant defensive adjustments as far as sending additional pressure. That was frustrating. The same way that, Sean, you and I were talking about on Friday, where it's like, hey, why did it take until 2 minutes left in the third quarter to man up Leonard Moore on Malachi Toney? Because against Purdue, you can get away with that because your offense was dealing. I don't know if you can get away with that against Arkansas on the road. Because I've watched that offense, and that offense has been dealing. I know what USC's offense is capable of. And USC's offense gave this Notre Dame defense work when Al Golden was still in town. So it's like, I want to be there. I do. But it's hard for me to accept a premise where it's like, if this defense can hold teams to 20 points, when they didn't do that against the worst team that they've played so far this year at home. It's just tough for me to be there.
Yeah.
They scored 23 points in the first half.
Yeah. Let me ask you both a question. Does it matter? Because, who you play matters, right? Who did Notre Dame play after Northern Illinois? Name me the elite team they played last year after the loss to Northern Illinois.
Right away, or
no? Just look. Name me the elite team they played after they lost to Northern Illinois last year.
I understand. I'm asking, Sean, are you referring to the remainder of the schedule, or are you saying like the next week when they? Okay,
no, the remainder of the schedule.
The
best team. I'll just ask it that way.
Regular
Who was
season,
the best team regular season that they played after Northern Illinois? Navy. We're talking about Navy.
No. I'm sorry, Louisville's offense.
Okay,
Louisville's offense. Yeah,
Louisville. Not just offense, just team. You think Louisville was the best team?
Louisville or Navy?
Louisville and Navy.
One of those two. Probably go Louisville.
Is it fair to
one
say
that present you the toughest matchup?
Yeah. Is it fair to say that when they went to the playoffs, one of the things that people held against Notre Dame is that they really haven't played anybody. Yeah, they're blowing everybody out, but who have they beaten?
Yeah.
That didn't mean a darn thing to Notre Dame. So what's better, who you play or who you are?
Oh, who?
Yeah, I'm worried about Notre Dame and who they are. I don't care who they do it to.
100%.
Who are you? Because if you are going to be who you need to be, it's going to show up against bad teams and it's going to show up against elite teams.
Right.
And that's what we need to be worried about with Notre Dame. Who are they? They're better than they were last week defensively in certain areas. That's a check. Can they be better than they were in the last two games against Arkansas? If they can be, that's another check. And eventually, if they get to a point defensively where they are who they're supposed to be, who cares if it's week 9, week 10? That's all that's going to matter when they go into the playoffs or if they make it to the playoffs. Who you are matters much more than who you face.
Yes.
And Notre Dame needs to figure out who the heck they are. And they're going through the process of figuring out that's the most important thing for them. I think offensively, they have started to figure out who they are.
Sean, I would argue they did that after the first game.
You're probably right.
I mean, there are some things we didn't like about the offense last week. And could have done this different, could have done that different. But it was very obvious in last week's game that they're like, hey, we need to let 13 be a bigger part of this thing. We need to make sure that we're getting the ball down. I mean, we got to make sure we dictate that 4s and 24 are going to touch the ball more. Like, that's leaning into who you are. It took them one game of not playing well to say we're going to adjust. And then by game 3, they're cooking. Yeah, but they played a bad team. Exactly. And they looked like, to your point, Sean, they looked like what an elite unit is supposed to look like against an inferior opponent. Remember some of how USC's offense is just, man, this offense is this and this offense is that. And USC's offense has looked pretty good this year. USC's offense didn't look like anything like what Notre Dame's offense looked like. USC scored 26 offensive points last week. Like, Notre Dame did that more than that in a half of football. I mean, Notre Dame did that on their first 4 possessions. I mean, seriously. And ripped this Purdue defense up. I mean, Purdue was in the state of Indiana last week. They had a home game against USC. You know, you look at their performance last week. Their defense last week gave up 26 points, 460 yards, and 6.8 yards per play. And against USC, who, you know, everybody talks about, man, this team is just ripping people up and they look great. They're doing this, they're doing that. I haven't checked to see what they're doing tonight against Michigan State. I'll have to look that up here in a little bit. But the point is, Notre Dame came out against that same defense and just destroyed it, just absolutely annihilated it. And that's what, to me, that's the gauge. Like, Sean, it's like, it's who you are. That game doesn't start till 11 o'clock. Goodness gracious. But like, you know what I mean? Like that speaks to what you're talking about, Sean. Like, when the Notre Dame offense last year figured out who they were, they started ripping people up. And I think this year Mike Denbrock figured it out a lot quicker because I think he had all the guys he wanted to have longer. You know, and you know, they're making a point to get certain guys football. Yeah, we'd like to see him get Jaden Greathouse the ball more. That needs to happen, but it took them one game to realize we got to make sure 4 and 24 are major parts of this offense. We got to make sure that 0 is a big part of our offense. We got to make sure that 9 is a big part of our offense. Today, the game didn't dictate Eli being a factor because they were doing so much dropping and coverage. They were kind of all over his routes, and they only threw 12 passes. But it's not like they're making sure that Eli's getting the ball. It took Denbrock real quick. Well, you know, it's new D coordinator. He shouldn't have had to learn the players. He had 3 assistant coaches that were here last year and a head coach. You should have known who these guys were. I want to say one positive about today, guys, is number one, that freshman defensive class. I know that they had their ups and downs today, but it is talented. It is a very talented group of players. And you know who got a lot of playing time today that I thought played really well when I noticed him? And I have to go back and watch the film to see if he did this. Elijah Hughes had some really, and I'm not talking about like late in the game. I'm talking first half. Elijah had some plays. There's a couple times he was bowling dudes' backs in the run game and just getting under their pads, great pad level, locking them out, driving them back. Like, he had some really nice snaps today. Very impressed with what I saw from Elijah Hughes today. I did want to point that out because we obviously spent a lot of time talking about some of the negatives on the defense, but I think that young man earned himself some more reps moving forward. In Jared Dawson. So what I believe happened is Jared Dawson twisted his ankle up at the end of last week before the A&M game. And on the Thursday practice, got a little rolled up on. I don't think he was 100% against Texas A&M. And I would assume, this is just a guess, that they, like they did with Leonard Moore and Devontae Smith, just held him out. Let's get him healthy for next week, which I think is a smart decision. If you can't beat Purdue with the guys you have without Leonard Moore and Jared Dawson and Devontae Smith, then you got way bigger problems than those injuries. You need these guys healthy. You do need them to beat Arkansas next week. And so, but look, next man up, right? Elijah Hughes steps into that rotation and played, I thought, good football, fellas. Like, I didn't notice him in any pass rushes. So again, I have to go back and watch some film. But he, against the run, I thought Elijah was really good. I'm actually going to look and see what his snap numbers were in this game. But I thought overall he played 25 snaps. He had 1 pressure in the game. But PFF gave him the second highest defensive grade on the team. Now, I have a love-hate relationship with the PFF grades, but that's a reflection. I thought Elijah Hughes did some good things. So you got another D tackle that's playing pretty good. And people like the D tackles aren't good enough. I mean, okay, maybe not against the pass, but Gabriel Ruby had 3 pressures today. I thought he played really hard today. I thought the D tackles for 2 weeks in a row now have been very good against the run, very stout against the run, and have played good football. So I think it's the edge players that got to do better. And I think it's the defensive coordinators got to do better. So, yeah.
Listen, folks, Sean, sorry, I didn't know if I saw you unmute yourself. I didn't know if you wanted to add to the D-line at all before. So another D-line player too, Brian, that stood out to me real quick before we switch over to what's next and Super Chats. Cole Mullins stood out a little bit when he was on the field too. I saw him making some plays towards the tail end of the game as well. He was one of the, again, take it with a grain of salt, but one of the higher graded defensive players for Notre Dame. So I thought he was a little impressive as well. But we'll see the improvements moving forward. Brian, we typically like to end the post-game segments with
real quick. I want to stay in the defensive segment for a second, Trev. What was Purdue's, when you look at FanDuel, what was the points that they had for Purdue?
Like their total points over under?
Yeah. Do you know what that was? 13.5. What was Ryan Brown's pass numbers?
167.5.
167.5. What was the highest receiving number that they had for their receivers? Who?
42.5.
For who?
I believe it was for Nitro Tuggle.
Okay. And you said it was 42.5?
Yeah.
All 3 of those things covered by halftime. By halftime.
Yep. Sure did. It's so tough whenever I go and build out a parlay slip because I know what's going to happen relatively with Notre Dame's defense. I just can't add Purdue players on it or like opposing teams' players on a bet slip because it's almost like you're rooting for it so you can win, but I can't root for it to happen because I know what should happen. It's a tough spot to be in. That's for sure. But you are correct. All 3 of those hit.
Halftime.
Actually, the only one that didn't hit, I did think it was a little interesting. Devin Mockabee's over-under for rushing yards, despite Notre Dame's rush defense being the strength of this defense.
And him not being very good.
Like, I think his over-under for rushing yards before the game kicked off was 54.5.
And that's crazy talk. What did he finish with in this game? Like
30?
16. Who was their leading rusher? Malik, their backup quarterback was their leading rusher at 26 yards.
Yeah,
that was a bad one. Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, man.
All those Purdue numbers were made by halftime.
Oh, yeah. And like we said, Sean, I think it was you and I, we were talking about this on Friday, but just take the over in every Notre Dame game from here on out.
Oh, yes. By the way, you guys both did a great job on the 2 shows you did this week, by the way. Appreciate you guys filling in for me this week. You guys did excellent work. You have a great rapport, so I do appreciate that. But, yeah, take the over. That was one of my favorite takeaways from your guys' things. Take the over. Whatever the over-under is with Notre Dame games, I cannot wait. Do you guys think the over-under is going to be for Notre Dame Arkansas next week?
96.
This might be the highest over-under we've ever seen in a Notre Dame game.
Bro.
Like,
I think they'll probably set it about 68.5.
Like it,
That and then their game
it's
against.
It's going to be a 17-14 game. Watch,
bro. Probably.
The crazy thing, you look at the defenses they're facing for the rest of the schedule, it is.
I was just about to say that.
Yes.
The final score of the NC State game might be 77-74.
Yes.
Like what that overtime game
USC,
between like Texas A&M and LSU back in 2018, that overtime game, that NC State Notre Dame game might hit that in regulation.
I think
I mean, that
Boise
game's
scored
gonna
over
be
40
nuts.
today. I mean, what would they against Air Force? Boise scored 49 today. You know, they struggled against South Florida, but they scored 51 against Eastern Washington, 49 today. NC State's defense is garbage. I mean, there might be some higher scoring games between ACC opponents than what we're going to see from Micah Shrewsbury's team in some ACC games this year if this defense doesn't step up and play better. I'm dead serious because some of the defenses they play are terrible. I mean, Boston College let Stanford move the ball on them last week. Like, I mean, come on, man. Like, Pitt let West Virginia move the ball on them. I mean, NC State's offense scored 33 points today. 33 points is what NC State's offense scored today. They had 535 yards of offense, scored 33 points, and lost by double digits today. Their defense is terrible. So, man, there's just some
Sean, you said something on Friday. Yeah. And it's resonating with me. I always try to stay grounded when I get frustrated with Notre Dame's defense, bro. And you said something on Friday. You said it could always be worse. It could always be worse.
The O-line could always be worse. I'm like, dude, I'm watching football. I'm telling you, I just watched Dylan Raiola run for his life today against Michigan. Like, I think Michigan ended up with 8 sacks. Like,
Jackson Arnold got sacked 10 times today.
10 times, yeah. So, you know, we worry and talk about certain things in Notre Dame, and I'm telling you, like, if you watch college football, it is.
But that's what's so frustrating, Sean, because you finally have an offense that we're like, dude, this offense is going to move, and then you do this to your defense. That's the frustrating thing. The offensive line is better, still better than a lot of other teams, but that's not the standard. The standard isn't that you're better than 75% of the offensive lines of college football. The standard is you're better than 99% of the other offensive lines of college football. And they're not. In the 3 games that Notre Dame has played this year, they have the third best offensive line of the 4 teams we've seen them be on the field, them plus the 3 opponents. And the only offensive line that's played worse than theirs so far is Purdue's, whose offensive line is not very good. And so that's the frustrating thing. It's very frustrating to see. It's like you're going to have this elite offense and you're going to waste it. You get 1 year of Malachi Fields and Eli Raridan, and you're just going to waste it if you don't figure some stuff out defensively. It's not wasted yet. And so, but here's the other thing too, though, guys. If the defense plays well in the second half of the year, it will be because it got better. It won't be because they're beating up on bad teams. You've got Arkansas, whose offense is legit. Boise's offense is improving. NC State's offense is legit. USC's offense is legit. Boston College's offense is legit. Navy's offense is legit. Pitt's offense is solid, but when they're on, they're very good. The only bad and Syracuse's offense is legit this year. Now, I don't know how long Steve's going to be out and how Ricky Collins does in that situation. Hopefully Steve's not out for the year, but their offensive line's a hot mess. But I'm not. If I'm playing Notre Dame, I'm not worried about my offensive line being a hot mess because I don't know that their defense can take advantage of that the way that some other teams can. But outside of Stanford, name me a team on Notre Dame's schedule where you're not like those dudes can score some points. So the point is, I do think we will be able to properly evaluate how good this defense is, how much they've improved, if the numbers are where we think they should be in the second half of the year. Actually, really not even second half. The last 3 quarters of the season. If the numbers are better, then it's earned. It will be because of improvement. You're not going to out-talent your way into shutting everybody down from here on out. Because there's just two. Because the one thing, Trev, you and I talked about, look, there's some really good receiving cores on the schedule this year, and there's some really good quarterbacks on the schedule this year. And that's so far proved to be true. including a couple quarterbacks that we were like, hey, I'm not sure if this guy's even going to win the job, Dylan Lonergan, but we said if he wins the job, pretty talented guy. We weren't sure he was going to start at Syracuse, and Steve so far played pretty well since when he's been in the game. When his offensive line's given us some time, I should say, because like the Texas game when he had time, or the Tennessee game when he had time, he threw some nice balls, but he doesn't have great pocket presence, and their offensive line wasn't that good. But him and Jonte Cook are starting to kind of heat up a little bit, so I hope Steve can be healthy. But that's my point is if the numbers and the production and the performance starts to look like it's supposed to, it will be earned. Because the other thing is it could end up being a fun final 2 months, or maybe a hair pulling out, because there's also a lot of defenses that they face the rest of the way that can't stop anybody. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if the defense doesn't improve, there's going to be a lot of basketball-looking scores. This is going to people keep saying, "Oh, this looks like a Big 12 defense." I'm like, wait until they get into the rest of the schedule, because Miami and Purdue don't have two of the best offenses that Notre Dame's going to play the rest of the way. So it's going to be an interesting final stretch of the season.
Once again, can they learn as a staff from the Texas A&M game?
Yeah.
They face a dual threat quarterback that is inefficient when facing pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Even today, he was right around 53%, if I'm not mistaken. Look, man, it's not that hard. It's not that hard.
21 of 34.
Take away what they want. 21 of 34 today.
With a drop. That's 61.8% completion rate, which is okay. And a lot of that, Sean, was because he completed, 5 or 6 balls behind the line of scrimmage? He completed 7 passes behind the line of scrimmage. So, to your point, to back up your point, Sean, on throws beyond the line of scrimmage.
Whoa. No, I wasn't talking about. I'm talking about the next quarterback.
Oh, you're talking about yes.
Face.
Gotcha. Yeah. My bad.
He was 18 of 34 today.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not somebody that's just about to sit
Taylor
back
Green.
there. Taylor Green. Hey, dude. He's just like Marcel Reed. The same quarterback. Can you learn? And they don't have the receivers that Marcel Reed has.
They're pretty good, though.
Please.
Omega Blake, baby. All name team. He's been pretty good this year so far. That's a great name, though, Sean. Come on, man. Omega Blake. Come on, dude. That's got to be first team all name team.
Look. Okay, this is it. What's the next thing? You got the tackling was better. Second half, the coordination of the rush was better.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's just say those are 2 things that improve. What's the next 2 things that need to get better?
They have to play. I mean, just overall, they have to play with a more aggressive downhill style. They have to just have a mindset of physicality. That's the biggest thing for me. You continue to play the same zone stuff you want to play. Start rerouting. Start being physical. Start closing on the ball better. Like, just react faster and more physical in how you play your zones. That's what you say. It's not so much the play calls, and I don't like a lot of the play calls on defense. I don't like the lack of well-designed pressures, but physicality, Sean, to me, if you want to talk about the next thing that's got to get better, physicality in all 3 levels of the defense has got to get better, especially in the pass game. I can't ask Drake Bowen to be much more physical than he was the last 2 weeks against the run or in space. It's not about that they're not trying hard. It's just they're not being allowed to play downhill. That's why all of Drake's big hits are outside the box. That's what it is. So I think we'll probably be able to talk more about this during the super chats, Trev, and I know we want to get to that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, gentlemen, to wrap up tonight's show here on the Irish Breakdown Podcast, brought to you by FanDuel. We got some super chats like we always do. Win or lose for Notre Dame, and today they won by 26 points, beat Purdue 56-30 at home to pick up their first win on the season. Gentlemen, I'm ready to dive into some super chats. So
And my guy DJ Holman starts it off absolutely correct. I absolutely love this. DJ Holman, I got to read this, Trev. I'm taking over this one. This is phenomenal. DJ Holman with a super chat. Appreciate you, DJ. 60% of the time, Jadarian Price scores all the time. So I'm just trying to read him. I'm trying to read DJ saying this like Brian Fantana from Anchorman. You guys remember that scene? 60% of the time, it works every time. That doesn't make any sense. So, but
it's
yes.
made with real bits of Panther.
But yes, DJ, you are spot on, my man. This guy's a big play waiting to happen. I mean, when he touches the football, it's a big play. I mean, he has been outstanding, and this is the back that just he hasn't been getting enough credit because of the last 2 years because how good Jeremiah Love is. But he's a legit one. We've said this before. Now you're seeing why Trev and I said all summer. And I'm Sean, I know you've said this as well. This is one of the 10 best running backs in college football. It just so happens that he's the second best back at Notre Dame. This is a legit big time back. And I would argue he's probably closer to the top 5 than the bottom 5.
Oh, I was just about to say he's top 10 and
this
he's
year.
Not 10th.
This year.
Yeah. Yes. Top 10, not 10th. Agreed completely. Super chat from Trevor Rocket, the guy with the awesome name. Appreciate you, Trev. Brian, Trevor, Sean, thoughts on the O-line play this afternoon? Lambert is improving rapidly at right guard. Moving dudes. Vince, you are IB tough. Jumping on the prayer for you, brother.
Trevor, appreciate you, man. We know this last year's been a challenge for you, so we appreciate you sending good wishes to Vince in that regard. But I think, guys, we talked about this a lot during the show. Trevor got this in at the beginning of the breakdown, but that goes back to, Sean, what we were talking about with the defense is you're seeing steady improvement from the new guys in the Notre Dame offense. You know, Gerby's gotten better every week. I think that Jeremiah's gotten better every week. Malachi's gotten kind of more impactful every week, more efficient, certainly every week. The blocking on the perimeter's gotten better every week. It was a terrible first week. It was pretty good last week, but inconsistent. It was pretty darn flipping good today. That's the sign of a well-coached team. Are they there yet? No, but they're getting better every week. Where on the other side of the ball, it's just kind of like same story, different day. And you were able to get it done because you played a bad team. But look, I got my frustration with Joe Rudolph, but his line was better in game 2 than it was in game 1, and it was better in game 3 than it was in game 2. Independent of the opponent. It's not just that they played a worse front. They just played better. And then the dominant numbers were a result of who they played. But you can still look and say, okay, he was more fundamentally sound on that play than he was last week. And you can say that. Now, the frustration I have in pass pro and Anthony Knapp and all that aside, the fact is the run blocking got better this week than it was last week.
From Buddy Gabrick, thank you for the super chat, buddy. Defense still needs a lot of work. I like the aggressiveness on D more at the start of the second half. Mickens, Ash, and Freeman need to work this out.
Sean, did you feel watching it? And I know we'll go back and rewatch it. Did you feel like the defense was flying around a little bit more in the second half than it was the first half?
I don't know.
Keeping in mind the second half kind of counts the touchdown drive at the end of the half.
Sometimes perception can be reality. You know, I think you pointed that out. Like, because there were stops, you got the feeling like there was a different energy. But then, you know, you take a step back, and like you said, the opportunities that Purdue had to extend drives, to drop passes that contributed to those stops. Then, you know, being objective, you know, you can say that I do, like, certain things were cleaned up. So I think they played cleaner in the second half. I don't know. I would say the energy, you know, like Trev pointed out, like, that was really no one fired up. It was just kind of like yeoman's work that we're just out here doing what we're asked to do. And I think for me, that says a lot, man. I don't think the players are excited about what they're being given.
Sean, don't you think that comes from a lack of certainty? We see that in team all the time. That's a lack of certainty. Certainty of what I'm supposed to do.
What I'm supposed to do. Yeah. And, you know, but they did mention, I forget after what I think Purdue has scored. And they said Mickens, Ash, and Coach Freeman huddled up. Like, yo, we got to figure this out. So
unless that conversation said, you're calling plays now, you're giving assists when he asks you for it, then I don't really care what they talked about.
yeah.
I'll say this about the defense flying around more in the second half. I think the pressure was off of them a little bit because this was the first game that they've played this season that they didn't have, like, where every stop had to be monumental.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like you had that cushion now of like, okay, not to say that their defensive philosophy is like, okay, like we can kind of give up points here because we're up by 28, but it had the feeling of like, okay, they can play a little bit more free now that they know that every play, every snap, every down isn't like,
Yeah,
oh my goodness, like if we don't get the stop here and make the perfect tackle and have the perfect read, then we could be losing the game. And that's how I saw it playing out.
although I would argue they put themselves in that situation last week. I mean, the offense had you up 17-7, 24-14. Like, you put yourself in that. But still, 24-14 is a different type of lead than 42-23 in the third. 24-14 early in the second quarter is different than 42 and then 49-23. So that's a very good point, Trev. Jacob Steely with the super chat. Thank you so much for this, Jacob. Appreciate you, man. Jacob's been an IB member for a long time. It says God Country, Notre Dame, and Vince. We appreciate that, man. We appreciate that very much.
Man, put that on a t-shirt.
That's right. But I'm not giving Vince any royalties at all.
Make the t-shirt and just don't give one to Vince. Let all of us wear it, dude. Vince could just see it one day on a show. That's awesome. From Pilney35, thank you for the super chat. This game plan should have been the Miami game plan and the Texas A&M game plan. Run blocking is always easier than pass blocking. Basic stuff works.
Yeah, I disagree with that. I do. Notre Dame, Jeremiah Love carried the ball almost 30 times last week. With all due respect, the game plan was this way this week, not because run blocking is easier than pass blocking. I don't necessarily agree with that. It was because that's what Purdue was giving them. If Texas A&M would have lined up last week in a bunch of 3-man fronts and 3-2 and 3-3 boxes, Notre Dame would have ran the ball 70 times last week. That's what the game plan called for. I don't think the game plan – see, a lot of people think that how the game played out is the game plan. Notre Dame didn't come into this game saying, okay, CJ's going to throw the ball 12 times, 4 in the first half, because we're just going to run it down their throat. We're going to look like, Army last year throwing the football. Just bombs and running the ball. It worked out that way because Denbrock was in the feel of the game, seeing what they were doing and saying, hey, until they get out of this nonsense front against us, we're just going to run it down their freaking throat and take some shots. So I don't think this was a different game plan. What'd they do the first play of the game? They threw a bomb. But then the next drive, Purdue's coming out there in these 3-man fronts, and they're like, yeah, we're daring you to run. So Mike Denbrock was like, bet. And then went out there and ran it on them. So I think, Pilney, I think that was a byproduct of what Purdue was doing. I don't think that was the game plan going in, which is why we talked about in the third quarter when Purdue brought an extra guy in on the D-line, started playing more 4-man fronts, 4-2 and 4-3 boxes. Safeties got more aggressive. CJ started throwing the ball more. We had first 3 drives of the third quarter, 9 run plays called, 7 pass plays called. Because now the situation, what the defense was doing, dictated more balance. So, and let's be honest too, they weren't exactly run blocking very well the first 2 games either, especially the first game. So that easy run blocking wasn't exactly that easy in the opener.
This also goes back to the conversation that we had earlier around, and I know we talked about like what Notre Dame needs to focus on for the future is them at their core. But this question specifically, Pilney, goes into who you are playing. That is when that becomes a factor. Why did run blocking look easier today? Because there was no Cassius Howell. There was no DJ Hicks. There was no Tyler O'Needham. There was no, you know what I mean? There was no Reuben Bain. So that is when that comes into play as well. Now, it was better today, but it's not just as simple as saying, look, to Brian's point, we watched them give Jeremiah Love the football 26 times last week, and they still lost. And just because they had a good day this week doesn't mean that now the game plan reverberates back to, all right, give Love and Price the ball 50 times a game if that's what it takes to win. We just watched CJ Carr go 10 of 12 for over 200 yards and be a very efficient passer today.
You know what? I'll give Pilney, and maybe this is what he was trying to get at. Because I've mentioned it before. Like run blocking is a rhythm. Offensive linemen like to be given the opportunity to run block. And I just don't think the game plan against Miami, uh, without opening the old wound, I just don't think they did a good job of using their best players to dictate to Miami. I think the last two games, they have purposely gone out, and it's been Malachi Fields. They tried to get Jordan Faison going. They used their running backs, and then everything played off of that. And today, like you said, Ryan, as they adjusted, the run game got better as they got into a lather. And then the 4-yard gains start becoming 9, 10. And, maybe that's what he's trying to say. I'm not sure. But I will say the first game, that game plan was not, they called themselves trying to make it easier for the quarterback, and they made it so much more difficult. And the last two games, I think Mike Denbrock has done a good job of course, he has a plan to start the game, but I think he's had things to go to and some counters definitely today. Well, I don't know what Purdue, like you said, bro, I don't know what Purdue was thinking with a 3-man front. That's death by 1,000
kudos
cuts.
to Mike Denbrock for seeing that and being like, okay, this is what you want to do, then we're just going to punish you with these two backs.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, a lot of coaches see that. We've seen this at Notre Dame before. Well, our game plan called for us to do more of this, to go after this weak secondary, so we're going to do that. No, I was like, okay, they want to do this? Cool. Bet.
Well,
then we're just going to make you pay for it.
Yeah.
That's what they did.
So I would fully expect and anticipate early in the game that Arkansas will have extra men in the box. They struggled against the run today. They see what Notre Dame did running the ball this week. And I'm sure at this point, because the only place we really haven't seen PJ attack is the middle of the field intermediate. He's attacked outside. He's attacked down the field to the middle. And maybe early on, that's an area they're trying to stay away from with him and let him kind of progress to that, which is, I love it. Like, save that and eventually get to that. Maybe they get to it against Arkansas, especially with them probably bringing some extra men into the box. But this is the beautiful thing about today is a game where you say this is why you have Mike Denbrock here.
Mm-hmm.
This is why you had Mike Denbrock here. I wish Chris Ash had more patience as a play caller than Mike, similar patience. Like, you know what? This is what they're doing. We're going to counter that, and this is what we're going to do, and be patient with it, because it might only get you 4 yards to start, but eventually, you saw Notre Dame gashing the Purdue to the point where it's like Purdue players would just, what do you do, man? Just what do you do? I feel so bad for guys that see Jeremiah and Jadarian coming to the outside one-on-one. It's like, bruh, pull up lane with a hamstring.
That's
that would
100%.
be me. That would be 100%. Me.
Like, oh, coach, I had the angle, but my hammy gave out. Seems fine now. Yeah, I know the Lord put what healing on me, man. You know what I mean? Like, put his hands on me. I'm healed.
Facts.
Facts.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah. But this is what was so frustrating about that block from Faison last week. It's like, dude, you just get a body on that guy, and it's probably a house call. And again, I'm banging on Jordan Faison because it just happened to be him that play. He's played a great game today, and he was a key blocker on 2 other touchdown runs. It's just like you just need those. But when your defense is as bad as it was, those tend to be more painful, But yeah.
Super chat from Colin Wyman. Thank you, Colin. We talked earlier, Brian, and I still feel the same way, but a dub is a dub, and we move forward.
Absolutely.
That.
It feels a lot better to make changes and improvements when you get a 26-point win.
Mm-hmm. From Tyler Reese. Thank you for the super chat. Brian, I owe you an apology. I apologize. Please forgive me.
Tyler, I don't know what you owe me an apology for, my dude. So I'd like to kind of know what that's about. But the only time I'd ever feel like an apology was owed is if you were disrespectful to me, not because we have a difference of opinion that I might be right about, because I'm not right about everything. There's things I get wrong as well. But just talking ball, man. It's all good. I appreciate you. You've been a long-time member. We're good, my man. I'm curious what this is about. I do know that I think we had a little bit of a difference of opinion on something 2 weeks ago. I don't remember what it was, but you don't need an apology for that. Like, you never have to apologize when you're wrong about something that works out well for Notre Dame. That's a good thing. It's a good thing. So I appreciate you, man.
Another one from Pilney 35. Our coaches need to have the courage to use our best players and be patient with them. In the end, our guys are better than their guys. That includes Miami and Texas A&M.
I agree with that.
No. Yeah, I don't disagree with that in the slightest. There's a reason why I predicted Notre Dame to go undefeated before the season started, and it's not just because I'm a Notre Dame fan. I said that their roster from top to bottom is better than all 12 of the opponents that they're going to face.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Stand by that.
I just want to say this, though, guys. Is you're telling me that Madden Faramo and Dallas Golden just figured things out this week in practice? You know? You're telling me Jadon Blair can't play better than what we've seen it from the safety play so far this year? Really? Okay.
Are you shocked that turnovers and other big plays and better tackling happen when you put better talent on the field? I mean,
No.
Big super chat from Eric Carroll. Pretty sure that the amount was indicative of the final score.
He did that. I think Eric did that at times last year too.
Didn't have the heart to join the first two post-game shows. Don't blame me. Feeling better after this win. Happy with how the offense looked, but still a bit anxious about the defense.
I think you kind of speak for the vast majority of the chat and us, the three guys up here. Still a little anxious about this defense, but man, it's hard not to watch this offense and be like, dude, and it's not even close to reaching its full potential yet, in my opinion. And they're going to have some days. Look, the next 9 games, they're not going to get this better every game. They're going to have some games that are step back games. That's life. But yeah, they're not even as efficient as they need to be. They're not, I mean, there's still some missed opportunities. Like the line still can play a lot better. Like this offense is not even close, in my opinion, fellas, to its full potential. That's why I'm like, look, if this defense can figure it out, this team is going to be scary good. If this defense is just a top 25 defense, like seriously, just give me a top 25 defense the next 9 games. This team not only won't lose, they won't play in a close game. I don't need you to be what Al Golden was. I just need you to not be who Brian Van Gorder was. That's it. That's it. I mean, I don't think that's asking too much.
No, I'd make the argument for top 50. I mean, because right now you're in the bottom 100. And you've lost by a combined 4 points.
True.
I mean, top 25 to make a run, I agree with. Like, to the playoffs and all that. You win out convincingly in the regular season if you have a top 50 defense. But I agree with you, though, Brian, about the offense. That's crazy to think about. I mean, we're talking about an offense that's rolling right now. Jaden Greathouse has 2 catches. Eli Raridan has yet to catch a touchdown pass. Will Pauling, one of your offensive captains, has like 3 catches on the year. I mean, they don't have one of their – we talked about it in the preseason, Brian. You need one of KK Smith or Cam Williams to step up to be a deep threat in this offense, and they have virtually combined to do a bunch of nothing. And this offense is still rolling. Their ceiling is exceptionally high.
Yeah.
And then, like, what you said, they're gonna what would an off day be for this offense? 30?
A good.
Well, I mean, 24. Like kind of we saw in the opener, you know, where they're going to have a game where, you know, CJ throws a bad pick and the offensive line's not playing great. And that's football. I mean, that elite LSU offense in 2019 had a night where they scored 23 points against Auburn.
Yep.
It's going to happen. And you've got your defense is going to have to be better in order to help them out in those games. You're not going to score 49 offensive points every week. Or, you're and honestly, like the way that they were cooking in the first half of the A&M game and the way they were cooking tonight, they'd have scored on those possessions where the special team scored in both cases, in my opinion. And like I said, they're not even really going yet. Like to like they're getting closer each week to their full potential, but I mean, you guys can see it. They're not even there yet. And boy, when they get there, I mean, and again, early season, this is kind of where you expect the good offense to be. They're going to have some things they're not perfect at early in the season, but they're way ahead of where they were last year. I mean, Notre Dame scored 23 points in the opener, 14 in the next game, scored 59 in the next game offensive points. Then they scored 28 against Miami of Ohio. Then they scored 31 against Louisville, but they had 2 short fields in that game as well. It wasn't until game 6 that offense started to cook week after week, and that was when they hit the weak part of their schedule defensively. And like they're going to be fun. They're going to be fun to watch, fellas. They're going to be real fun to watch. You wait till you see this play that Aiden Childs just made for a touchdown for Michigan State. Thank you, Eric, by the way, for that super chat, man.
Lou Holtz, Thunder and Bolts. Thank you for the super chat. A dub's a dub. Defense equals shake my head. Offense, yeah, boy. Carr, true quarterback. Price is a bad man. Marcus Freeman's halftime interview. Couldn't hide the disgust. And prayers for Vince.
Yeah. Appreciate all that, man. Appreciate all that. And agree with a lot of that.
Man. Super chat from Tyler Reese. Thank you, Tyler. Who is most at fault for our defensive woes, considering returning talent and leaving talent? Also, Ash's lack of pulse on the personnel and teaching scheme. I think he answered it right there.
Well, I think it's someone else, Sean. I want to hear you answer this question.
Starts at the top for me. It always starts at the top. Right?
Which top?
It starts at the head coach for me for allowing things, right? I pointed out to you that when he spoke to the media this week, he uttered something that he uttered the week after the loss in Northern Illinois. We're allowing certain things in practice that shouldn't be allowed. Like, what are we talking about? You didn't learn from that last year? You allowed it to creep back in again? And that right there is just unacceptable. And so now, hopefully, he has to fight for his players. Like, forget what you think is best as a coach. It's our job to make them play better. That's our job. It's not our job to this point to get all your stuff installed. And no. We have to focus on these players and get them playing to the best of their capabilities as fast as we can. So starts with the coaching, man. Players, they'll get the bulk of the blame a lot of times because they're the evidence. They're the fruit. But the fruit testifies to the tree. They're the fruit on the field, but they're just evidence of the tree. And the tree is the coaching staff. So that's the root of it. And so it has to start there. Yeah, starts there for me.
At the end of the day, you made this hire and you've allowed him to do to this defense what he's done. Like, Chris Ash is who he is, but are you going to like? Here's my thing. You clearly saw that Carson Hobbs was struggling in the first 2 games. You made a personnel change. You didn't kick Carson Hobbs off the team, but he's got a different role now. Well, your defensive coordinator's coaching just as bad as Carson Hobbs was playing. So, like, maybe you need to think about, do we have the right people in the right positions?
Can't blame Carson today.
No.
Can't blame Carson Hobbs today.
Nope.
From Golden Domer. Thank you for the super chat. CJ was awesome tonight. Defense was awful. Zachary looked really bad. Greg gets a gift and wants to celebrate in the end zone like it to the sideline.
Strongly disagree with that last one. He didn't get a gift. He was in position and made a play, just like Xavier was at times last year. That's absolutely a moment to celebrate. They were also in their territory. A lot of kids do that. When they intercept the ball, they run to the defense, to the end zone. I think some kids are told to do that. I think that's, hey, we get this. This is what we're going to do. You make a play, go celebrate. Look, we can't get guy struggled, and so if he makes a play, he can't celebrate. I don't want to get into that, man. Whatever. Mark Zachary looked bad on some plays. Mark Zachary also looked good on some plays. That's going to kind of be what a young player is going to be. The second touchdown he allowed, guys, that was a great ball. Let's not take away from Ryan Brown. Sometimes it's not you made a bad call or you made a bad play. Nitro Tuggle had a half a step on Mark Zachary, and Ryan Brown threw a perfect pass on that play as well.
And he was also a true freshman in his first start. I seem to remember another true freshman in his first start at field corner also not look like a world beater.
Leonard Moore. Yep.
And look, man, I went on a 5-minute rant about how I was frustrated that this defense wasn't celebrating wins. And now it's a bad thing that one of the players who has been struggling, it's a bad thing that they're celebrating wins because we feel some type of way about them.
Do y'all remember Christian Gray or Benjamin Morrison against Syracuse in 2022?
Yeah, he was poo.
He was, hey, you're using my word. I love it. He absolutely was. He was really bad that game. Freshmen are going to have those moments, Mark. But you know what I like about Marcus? It didn't bother him. He came back and made more plays. He did not look like a guy that was worried about getting burned on the play he broke up in the end. He was in good position. He didn't get too handsy. The guy put his hands up. Mark put his hands up, threw his hands, and broke up the pass. There are things he's going to have to learn. He's going to have to get stronger. Mark is not a very strong guy right now, and I think that hurts him a little bit in coverage. But Mark will be fine. He'll be fine. He also had some good moments today. He had some bad moments today. There's no question about it. But to your point, Leonard Moore got his first start against Louisville last year and got torched a couple times. Gave up over 100 yards that game, according to Pro Football. Actually, in his first start at Boundary, he also gave up a bunch of yards. He gave up 2 big plays against Georgia Tech. You remember that? He didn't close on a seam route, backside on a seam route in a deep coverage and gave up a big play. Mark will be fine. He didn't play great today overall. No doubt. He'll tell you that. But he also had some moments where he looked pretty good too. But yeah, that first one, that was terrible. The play where he got beat on that, just basically a go route, didn't play, it was terrible. The touchdown pass he gave up, there's some things he needs to do better, and he could be a little, but that was legitimately a great ball, by Ryan Brown. Now it helped that there was no help over top, and he didn't really get that much pressure.
Again,
he'd step into that. Maybe if there's a little bit more pressure and he has to throw off his back foot, that ball doesn't carry as well, and Mark's got a shot to make a play on it.
Yeah. It's amazing that, they talk about the kid can't catch interceptions. He finally catches one. And now it's an issue.
Yeah.
I
get it.
It's like
people are mad. But you can't allow that to be like a kid can't celebrate.
I'm mad,
do it on the sideline. I get all that.
I'm mad too, but be mad at the right stuff.
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah. Isaiah Lehman, serious question. If you simply input last year's defense, are we national championship favorites? Offense is getting close to elite.
Right now they're 3-0 right now. And people are like, this Carr kid, there's one of the storylines in college football is CJ Carr.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be talking about CJ Carr with that backfield and Malachi Fields is putting in work. Yeah, okay. Eli Raridan, if they're 3-0, there's a lot more national talk about Malachi Fields and Eli Raridan and CJ Carr. No question about it. If they have last year's defense. Because they're Notre Dame is destroying people now. They would have annihilated Texas A&M. Now, A&M would have scored more than 13 points against last year's defense because they're a different offense than they were a year ago. Mm-hmm. They got a more dynamic quarterback, and they got a much better receiving core than they had a year ago. So it probably would have been like a 41-27 game, even with last year's defense. You guys disagree with that? Maybe 41-24, but they would have definitely scored over 20 against last year's defense.
Oh, I agree with this.
Yeah. But they're not scoring in the 30s and 40s, in my opinion.
Yeah,
But
I just want.
and they would have this year's Purdue game would have looked a lot like last year's Purdue game. Because could you imagine what Notre Dame's offense would have done today if they were getting the ball back sooner and the defense wasn't giving up longer drives? If they had an extra 2 possessions in the first half, what this game would have looked like? Yeah, I love that take. And that's what's so frustrating being a Notre Dame fan is because it's like they can't put it together.
I mean, this is going to be here. I mean, I don't even know if it's going to be that bold of a take, but this is going to be one of the questions that we will answer ad nauseum this offseason.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be one of those, what if this offense had this year's defense? It's kind of like when we talk about what if the 24 defense was on the 2015 team? How good would that team have been? It's like, oh, man, they would have been fun to watch. It's going to be that. Another one from Golden Domer. Minchie looked clear second string with wide open pass to Burris. Knapp responsible for a strip sack. Awful.
I appreciate the super chat, my man. I really do. So we're just going to ignore a couple of the good throws that Kenny made. And yeah, he underthrew that ball. It was not a good throw. It wasn't. I mean, came off the bench late in the game and didn't throw a perfect pass. He looked clear second string, not by anything he did. He looked clear second string because of how good CJ looked. But he went 7 of 8, had a really nice scramble for 6 yards, and yeah, Knapp was responsible for the strip sack. I agree with that. But they still won by 26, and so I mean, there's a couple good things I think we could probably find to talk about in this game.
I mean, Irish. Yeah, you could have just simply said, "Man, CJ is really good," but you know what? Kenny's pretty good too.
Yeah. Agreed.
Like you want to single out one pass. And like you said, he made some passes, especially with people breathing down his neck. The pass he threw to Ty Washington is like, man, dude, you got a quarterback that can win.
Yeah. He's just not
against any opponent on this schedule.
You know who else isn't as good as CJ Carr, Sean? The vast majority of quarterbacks in college football right now.
But once again, this is what I said. Steve Angeli had to transfer. And Steve Angeli was the first evidence of quarterback development in recent history at Notre Dame. And he goes to Syracuse, and you see what he's capable of in that offense, which lets you know what you have on this roster in the quarterback room.
And by the way, CJ, I was told by 2 pretty good sources that Steve Angeli was told after the spring he was 3rd behind CJ and Kenny. So, yeah, it'd be fine. Like somebody else said, he was also thrown to behind second string offensive line and second string receivers and all that. It's a fair point.
Irish tendencies. Show the alma mater on TV. Why did this stopper fade out over the last few years? Go Irish, and thank you for everything, Irish Breakdown.
Appreciate that. Part of that is, I think, because they have to cut away from the game sooner because now they're airing Big Ten games. So we don't get as much of the after the game stuff. So I don't think this is specific to, hey, we're not showing the alma mater anymore. It's like, hey, we've got a 7:30 game that we have to get to because of the Big Ten contract. So I think, honestly, that's what that's for. You just don't get to see as much. Remember, they'd have like multiple like post-game interviews. They'd have, Chris Sims and whoever else on talking at, Rodney Harrison talking and their post-game takes because there was nothing else on after the Notre Dame game whenever it was over. But now game gets over at, 8-some, they got to cut over to the Indiana-Illinois game. So you're just not going to see as much of that. That's why. It's no conspiracy or disrespect Notre Dame other than they signed another, with another league, and Notre Dame's not the only game in town, which I don't love. But, I mean, in some ways, I think it's good for Notre Dame, and in some ways, it's not the greatest for Notre Dame. But overall, that's the big reason why.
Josh Phillips, did Freeman take over calling plays on defense in the second half?
I don't think so. There were times when calls were being made, and he was looking to the sideline fussing at somebody. So I don't think he was calling plays the second half. I'm not guaranteeing that, Josh. He might have, but I don't think that was the case.
Bees, thank you for the super chat. Great to get a win. Tell Vince we love him and we're praying hard for him. Go Irish.
Well, Vince is still watching. So when you guys say these things, Vince is still seeing it. So I appreciate that, and I know Vince does as well. I can say with certainty that I went over to see him this morning. Was running out to get Angela coffee before I headed to the stadium, and I went over to Vince's house. We live in the same neighborhood, for those who don't know that. And that was one of the first things he said. He's like, man, I went on the board this morning and couldn't believe, like, he was shocked how much people love him. I'm like, dude, the only person that doesn't think you're a lovable guy is you. You know, like people love you. Like, he doesn't like go. He's like, nobody cares if I go to a tailgate. I was like, dude, every time I go to a freaking tailgate, half the people ask me, first thing they ask me is like, hey, where's Vince? You know, so, but yeah, that meant a lot to him, Beezer. It really did.
Maltavius, thank you for the super chat. Now we really know how good X was. Defense played hard, though. Good offensive win.
We always knew how good Xavier Watts was. I said last year that he was the best safety that ever played in Notre Dame in my lifetime. And this year doesn't change that, number one. Number two, I still think this defense isn't very good if Xavier Watts is here. You cannot tell me that Xavier Watts made a 20-point difference per game for this football team. I'm sorry. No.
I mean, look at how they're playing, man. I mean,
it has nothing to do with their linebackers. It has nothing to do with Christian Gray regressing. It has nothing to do with their defensive line not being able to get pressure on the quarterback. It has nothing to do with any of that stuff. It's just would they be better right now if they had Xavier Watts? Yeah. They'd be giving up 28 points a game instead of 35 points a game or whatever it is. Sure. They'd still be a not very good defense. Could you argue that maybe if they had Xavier Watts, they beat Miami because maybe Xavier picks that pass off in the end zone? Maybe. But I don't know that has a whole lot of difference in what happens against A&M. So, yeah.
From Lucian Veamont, thank you for the super chat. Having to finish on Peacock was stupid.
Well, we didn't because it was certain regions, like the Notre Dame region did. But honestly, I don't think it was stupid. I mean, look, they have the Big Ten contract. And what will the majority of people watching football? I mean, I promise you there are some Notre Dame fans that were like, okay, it's 56 to something. I want to see what's going on in the Indiana-Illinois game. I have no problem with that. Now, if Notre Dame was, if it was a barn burner, I still think they stick to the Notre Dame game on NBC. But game's over. So I have no problem with them switching over. I don't know if you guys have an issue with it. Part of it is too, I'm saying it as someone who didn't have to lose coverage of it because we're in the region where they didn't change it. Sean, they didn't move it in, like, I think Chicago, Fort Wayne, like those areas, they like southern Michigan, they were all still on the Notre Dame game.
I had to watch it on
Chicago was Peacock.
You had to switch over too?
Yeah, Chicago.
Trev, you did as well? I would make sense why you did, Trev.
Remember, Chicago had to switch over because it was Illinois.
That's right. That's right.
Game, so.
Yeah, we didn't. Southern Michigan didn't, and Fort Wayne didn't. I thought Chicago might have been the same, but that makes sense with it being Illinois. It makes sense though. Did you guys have an issue with it? I'm sure it was annoying, but did you have an issue with it?
No, I just switched over to Peacock.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just pulled it up on my phone. So,
all right, let's get to the next one.
Tom Connor, the rain delay was our best defense.
I mean, it was not a whole lot different than what they did at halftime, what they would have done at halftime, I don't think. But
I mean,
they gave up 10 points coming out of the
I was about to say they
you know what I mean? Like
Purdue went on a 75-yard drive that took 6 plays and 53 seconds out of the rain delay. I don't think the rain delay helped.
Yeah.
ND Lou 22 Price is finally getting some recognition nationally for just how good he is. I'm 28 and haven't seen running backs this elite at Notre Dame. I'm going to sit back and enjoy the ride this year.
Yeah, so 28, that's your age, right, Trev? You're 28 also. So you guys didn't get a watch like what Sean and I will say. I will say this, Sean, and I want you to agree or disagree with the statement. This is without a doubt the best duo at running back that Notre Dame has had since Reggie Brooks and Jerome Bettis in 1992. They'll be more productive than that duo was, in my opinion, because A, they play more games. B, the bowl games will count as yards, which they did not for Reggie and Jerome back in 1992. And they're just it's a different offense. But yeah, this is the best backfield since then. Is it better than that backfield? Talk to me at the end of the year. Last year, it wasn't better than the 92 backfield, but it was pretty darn good. They're very, yes. Sean, agree?
Yeah.
With all due respect to Dex and Josh Adams in 17 and Audric and Logan in 2022 was pretty darn good. But, yeah, this is the best duo. I mean, I thought Jonas Gray and Sierra in 2011 was pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Theo and Sierra in 2012 was pretty good.
Josh and CJ they were pretty good. Josh was
the only issue I had that year, Sean, is they should have been better together.
Yeah,
I thought they did not use Josh enough I thought that's why CJ wore down. Mm-hmm. They just rode CJ, and then Josh. Remember the USC game when Josh came in, ran for 26 yards, and we didn't see him again the rest of the game. Yeah. Literally had one carry for 26 yards, and we didn't see him again. And then Josh got most of his yards off the bench against UMass. When they were blowing him out, they put him in. He ran for over 100. And then he took over against Pitt when CJ got hurt and then just went off. I wish they would have done more with them together when CJ, before CJ got hurt, and then maybe they would have been a little healthier late in the year that year against Stanford and some of those teams.
Yeah, I mean, the potential of that backfield was crazy because Tari and Folston got hurt in the first game against Texas too. I mean, that backfield could have been Folston, Procise, and
Corian and CJ would have been filthy as a duo that year.
They would have.
Filthy.
I was so mad at myself, guys. Before the game, I was looking, and I always get so nervous on FanDuel when I have to go and bet for, especially running back to get over 100 yards. I always get real nervous when I look at that stuff. And Jeremiah Love's over-under was set at 101.5, and I think Jadarian Price's was set at 62.5. And they both hit their overs, like easily. I mean, Jadarian did it in what, 9 carries. Jeremiah hit his over shortly after the rain delay. Ugh.
101 is so disrespectful. As a prop bet for a running, that's so disrespectful.
I know.
They're so good.
V1 rotate V2. Watching games all day, I feel like we looked undersized on the defensive line.
I don't think so. I mean, they have Rubio's 320, Onye's 305. I think they're maybe undersized for what they're asking them to do. But I think Heinisch also makes them look smaller than they are.
And also,
everybody else is 300 pounds or bigger. Heinisch is a smaller one.
Well, and also, in comparison to who? I mean, if you watched Arkansas-Memphis, then I agree that Notre Dame's defensive line. I mean, dude, they got a guy on their defensive line that's 6'6", 350 pounds.
Yeah.
That's a mammoth.
Yeah.
That's going to be fun to talk about this week. Throwing Hands Irish, comparing our running backs to World War II fighter planes. Love is an F4U Corsair and Price is an F6F Hellcat. Agree or disagree?
I'm not as familiar with the Corsair, but the Hellcat. Yeah, I'll give you that. Yeah,
I'll give you that. I would say Love is kind of like a P-51 Mustang. Those planes were nuts.
Yeah, they wreaked a lot of havoc on the Japanese at the end of World War II. There's no doubt about that.
Just your ordinary Joe. I don't need perfection. I need progress. Quote from Brian Driscoll.
It's a great quote. That guy's wicked smart. I'm glad you brought that up. That's how I feel about the offense. Right? The last 2 weeks, they haven't been perfect, but they've progressed each week. They got better each week. The coaching got better. The performance got better. The effort got better. I thought they came out with some swagger today. I mean, first play of the game, I think they only brought 4 guys, but the offensive line did a great job of giving him time to throw. Great job. And look, they only brought 4 guys. We watched A&M get pressure on CJ last week with 3. So, and their D-line's not phenomenal. So, it's, but no, offensively, I would say that I agree with this. I don't know that I think that the defense really progressed all that much. we'll find out more next week. But offensively, absolutely, Joe, this is spot on.
Brandon Plensner, thank you for the super chat, Brandon. Devontae Smith is back next week, but not more. Do you think Golden might get the start at field over Zachary? Or what's your thoughts on how he plays out, or how it plays out, excuse me?
If Devontae Smith is back next week, I would imagine that they're going to keep Dallas at nickel because you don't want to just assume that Devontae is going to be ready to give you 60 snaps. I think the way that Arkansas is going to go at them, I think having a healthy rotation at nickel is going to be smart.
Yeah.
Until Devontae's 100%.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I would do.
Well, and when he was 100% in the opener, Brian, to your point, he still only played 37 of the 70 snaps.
Right, which, again, is a mistake, but yes.
A conundrum.
Yep.
Tyler Evans, Nolan James Jr. will be a dude. Spot on, Brian.
Yeah. Yeah, he gets downhill fast and violently. Like, whoo, boy. Yeah, he's going to be a good one.
Yeah.
He's going to be a good one.
Christopher Galloway, appreciate the super chat, man. Great show.
Thank you, Christopher. Appreciate you very much. Always love when you're rocking the IB hat.
Bobby Flake, thank you, Bobby. The twos look good for the experience they have.
I don't agree with that. I think a lot of the offensive linemen have played a lot last year at the twos and didn't look as good. So I was not a big fan of that. Not a big fan of that at all.
The Spanky 412. Sean, off-topic question. What do you think of the Bulls retiring Rose's jersey?
I wish that Sean wouldn't have just left. We should have brought this question up early. What I'll do, Spanky, is I'm going to ask him, if you could shoot me a text and remind me, I'm going to ask Sean that the next time we have him on the show. It'd be a good question to ask him. But I thank you for the super chat.
Omar Alston, thank you for the super chat. How can you expect to be elite with a left tackle that can't block an outside speed rush with this defense?
Fair. I think part of it is because you look at what they did the last couple weeks, which is they were chipping more with the backs and tight ends against a better pass rush. Today, they didn't need to chip because Purdue wasn't really bringing much of an edge rush. So, but yeah, I don't know that. I mean, that's a very fair question, Omar. It's one that I'm frustrated by and will continue to be frustrated by. So I agree with you completely. It's going to be hard, but how you're elite is you find a way to just be okay there. There will be some weeks where he's a little better, but how do you be elite? Because you have an elite quarterback, you have elite talent, wide receiver, in the pass game, I should say. When you look at your receivers, your tight end, and your running backs, and then you've got the best backfield in college football. That's how you still be elite. JWB074 Vince, I appreciate that very, very much, man. Very, very much. And this looks like the last one from our guy, Tyler Evans.
Thank you for the super chat, Tyler. I'd rather be a Notre Dame fan today than an Oklahoma State fan or a Clemson fan. Go Irish.
I'd rather still be a Notre Dame fan than anybody else. I don't care what the record is. But to what the point he's making, I get what you're saying. I still think Notre Dame's even at 1 and 2 is in a much better place than a lot of other teams because of the preseason expectations of who they are. You know, the fact that they shouldn't think that the last team to start 0-2 and remain in the top 25 was Michigan back in 1988. They lost to Miami and Notre Dame, who finished that year 1 and 2. Now, this year's Miami and Texas A&M are not as good as 1988 Notre Dame and Miami, who are the two best teams in college football. And they lost, both of them were similar to Notre Dame, 2 very close games. And they lost by 2 to Notre Dame. I think they lost by 1 to Miami. I think it was like 31-30. I think they lost to Miami, and they lost to Notre Dame 19-17. So I think it was 31-30. That was the score of the Notre Dame game. I could be wrong on that. But let me just look at that one real quick. Michigan 1988 football team. I thought it was 31-30, something like that. Give me a second, Trev. I'm going to look that up. It was 31-30. I was right. So, and they lost Notre Dame 19-17. So, and then went on to win the rest of their games until they got to the actually, no, they won the rest of their games because they beat USC in a bowl game. But they tied Iowa, beat Wake Forest, blew out Wisconsin, beat Michigan State by 2 touchdowns, tied Iowa on the road, blew out a ranked Indiana team. Imagine that, Trev. 1988, Indiana was ranked 14th in October. Blew out Northwestern, blew out Minnesota, blew out Illinois, beat Ohio State on the road by 3, and then beat USC in the Rose Bowl. So the season's not over yet if you can improve and get better. And this team's going to have to improve and get better. But look, I mean, those teams are 4 games in and just look bad. And Clemson just looks like a team that just kind of quit. You can't really say that about Notre Dame. I mean, I think they're still playing hard.
Yeah.
So, but yes, I would definitely much rather be a Notre Dame fan than fans of them for the reasons that Tyler's getting at. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Especially Oklahoma State, bro. That's not a fun spot to be in right now. Not great. Well, listen, folks, that's going to do it for us here tonight on the Irish Breakdown podcast. Brian and I will be back on Tuesday to start breaking down Notre Dame versus Arkansas when they head down on the road down to Fayetteville. What did Vince say? Suey Piggy?
Yeah, Suey Piggy. And you and I will be doing the Upon Further review this week too, by the way, Trev, since Vince is kind of on the injured list. Most likely, you and I are going to be doing that together. So that'll be interesting. That'll be interesting. So
that'll be a fun show. Well, listen, on your way out of here, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you are subscribed to this channel, whatever streaming platform you listen to us on. We would greatly appreciate a 5-star review. But as always, the best way to support what we do here, especially if you want to watch Upon Further review, got to be subscribed to the premium message boards at boards.irishbreakdown.com. So for Brian, I'm Trevor. We'll see you back here very soon on the Irish Breakdown podcast.
Sweet Piggy.